day from yesterday, the unsung hero of the day and the bike IQ. But before we get to that, we are going to take a look at the graphic with the wind direction.
Well, we checked out the wind forecast, and it was forecast to be between 15 and 20 kilometres an hour from the northwest, the race heading to the southwest, which means it was going to hit them in the right flank all day long whenever they weren't protected in one of those little gullies or down in the valleys. And you can see them along this ridge line. It is hitting them completely from the side. And look at this glorious sight.
Everybody had stopped today.
Saint-Côme-d'Ault.
And this village, you mentioned it as being a stunning village. It is listed as amongst the group in the association of the most beautiful villages in France. And the church that you can see, that goes back to the 16th century. The bell tower was struck by lightning in 1627 and had to be completely redone, and it is famous for the fact that it is a twisted bell tower that goes up to 42 metres.
And you can see that on the shape of the roof. You actually see that twist in it. And this is one of those towns where we talk about these historic and protected towns. You live in there, you're not allowed to do just whatever you want to your house. It has to be very, very specific. You need a roof repair. It's got to be with exactly the right material as prescribed by the council. And even painting the facade of your house, it's not on. You've got to stick with the colours. It's got to stay in the original stone. So if you're going to live there, you've got to stick to the rules and keep everything as it was, and it looks just amazing.
It is fabulous. The King of the Mountains jersey on the shoulders of Tim Wellens. Just behind him second yesterday. In front of him, one of the favourites for today, Caleb Ewan. I'm sure Caleb's manager will be watching with a sense of deja vu perhaps, because it was here in Albi in 2007 where Cadel Evans won his first ever stage of the Tour de France, and at Signature Sport, the manager of Caleb Ewan, they also manage Cadel Evans. The breakaway out to 3 minutes and 3 seconds. The other three awards, the disappointment of the day yesterday, Robbie, Roger Federer perhaps, 2 match points on serve, 40-15.
No.
The Kiwis perhaps, a countback.
No, not into cricket, so no.
Rui Costa.
He was really disappointed in partly himself, partly the rest of the breakaway group that would not allow him to get across, and I think partly just by the presence of the director sportif who came up to dare to speak to him.
Yesterday, Rui Costa was the last rider that attacked from the peloton to try and go across to the breakaway. He was at 2 minutes. He got within 26 or 27 seconds.
23 even, I think I saw at one point. It was so close.
Definitely in the 20s. And then he did not make contact with the breakaway that won the stage. And our next two awards, the Unsung Hero and the Bike IQ, both relate to the breakaway. The Unsung Hero of the day was Marc Soler from Movistar. His main purpose for going in the breakaway yesterday was to protect Movistar's position in the team's classification. As we fly in over Le Lot, the river that runs through this region.
So we do have
this river runs for 485 kilometres, and for a long time it was a really important navigational route, particularly throughout a period before the railway lines were built in this area. No surprises to Koenig Quickstep, Lotto Soudal and Jumbo Visma, but I'm staggered by the presence of Astana at the front, contributing to the pacemaking.
Hopefully someone asks them the question at the end of the day, find out what the purpose is of them riding, especially when it's their fastest man riding at the front. And as we spoke about before, it could just be that really simple one. Just want to get there.
Potentially.
How's the Serenity?
We've got a two-stroke engine at the front as well. It is strong powerhouses at the front. Casper Asgrud now has come to the front for the Koenig Quickstep, followed then by Tony Martin. So we've got one more award to give. So it was disappointment of the day for Rui Costa, not making the break. Unsung hero Marc Soler for making the break. Bike IQ move of the day goes to Tish Benoot for a couple of reasons. Rui Costa was trying to come across and join them, and that made him a real danger to win the stage. So Tish went to the front on the climb, spoke to a few of the others and upped the tempo, and he made sure Rui Costa, former world champion, didn't make it. One less guy to worry about. Then he knew that he had in the group coming to that final climb fast finishers Oliver Naas, Jasper Sturven and Daryl Impey. So he went full gas up the climb. He got rid of 2 of them. He was rid of 3 of them for a while, but unfortunately for Tish Benoon, Daryl Impey was able to come across to him, was just too quick in the sprint. But I think he did everything right, and he was really smart throughout the day.
He did everything right. He's a really intelligent guy, Tish Benoon. Did everything right as he just explained throughout the day. Even at the end, the sprint, he waited till Daryl Impey just looked back to the front and immediately started his sprint as we see the sights around Espalion. And he got his handlebars in front, and he would have won Bike IQ Move of the Year had he just checked his speed and just caught Daryl Impey against the barriers and almost reversed into him and just held him in there, caged him. But I mean, it would have been a bold and, well, I think a move that he never even would have thought about. I think it's an instinctive sprinter move.
I think it is coming straight from one himself. This is the old palace now that we get the chance to take a look at. And it's opposite the ancient tannery homes from around at the 1500s. This is the
Église
Saint-Jean-Baptiste as well, which is one of the major tourist attractions in the centre of town. And this was done by the Rodez-born architect Binder, neo-Gothic style, with red stone taken from local quarries in the area. It's topped by a bronze statue of the Virgin Mary and St. Joseph. The breakaway back under that 3-minute marker. They're at 2 minutes and 47 seconds. It's the head of the race. They start to turn towards the left. They pick up a bit more of the tailwind.
But after that Category 3 climb, the course goes more to the right. It'll still be
Fredo
a bit from the side. Oh, it's good on him. Well done. Still be a bit from the side, but a little bit more front on for the peloton after that Category 3 for around 20 kilometres. It is gusty though, so that forecast is right. 15 to 20 kilometres an hour with gusts up to 40. And certainly in this region, with all these little valleys and gullies, the wind can really get going as it funnels up some of these areas. And then hit the road, the peloton is racing down, straight into the side of them.
The breakaway there into the forest just for a little while. They continue to descend, holding on to a 41-second advantage. The team cars, they'll be now taken off to the side of the road, but it will just be a Mavic neutral service vehicle that is behind the break. Jumbo-Visma, a team that has already won 3 stages. The opening 2 days was Mike Turnison into Brussels with the surprise stage victory and the yellow jersey. A convincing win in the team time trial by 20 seconds to the better of Ineos. And then it was at Dylan Groenewegen just a couple of days ago. Amongst the riders who have missed that split, no major contenders for the top 10 in the overall classification. But yesterday's stage winner Daryl Impey was one of the guys down at the back caught in that second group.
Also, no surprise to see a guy like Tim Wellens. He's been really active so far. The legs will be a bit tired. Jesus Ferrada also back there. So riders who have been in the breaks and feeling the effects and thinking, this is just getting me to the rest day. That's all this stage is doing. So they were the ones dislodged at the back, just following the wheels back on in the peloton. But this will be an important point that Ineos will be racing towards, stay in control. As you said, on these fast downhills, very narrow, a little bit bumpy, the less riders in front of you, the less can go wrong. And Ineos know that all too well after the approach to Saint Etienne, because Michael Woods fell off right in front of Geraint Thomas.
There's out at the top of the climb perhaps as we pan back. You can see the wind is blowing there. But the good news for the guys caught at the back of the peloton, on the climb, the wind won't be a factor as they go through the trees. It's about to start. The back of the group, Berhan, he'll want to get to the top to make it a clean sweep of the categorised climbs on stage 10.
With 38 seconds up there, Slee, what we've generally seen all day is the peloton just backing off a little bit on the climbs. They're on the Côte de la Marique, 3.6 kilometres, 4.7% average 2 points on offer at the top for first, 1 point for the second rider across the line. The rest doesn't matter. Don't expect to see much competition amongst these riders to take it out. But if this tempo continues, Berhan is going to have to up the ante and go away from the rest in search of the points.
But I wonder if now that we've got Jumbo-Visma at the front, they've got control on a very narrow road, they won't want the pace to be too high for their sprinter Dylan Groenewegen. They may well try and close it down at the front and really back the pace off. At least if your main focus is Dylan Groenewegen for the stage victory, that's what they should be doing.
Well, Martin's main focus is looking after Steven Kruiswijk, but absolutely you're right. They should be backing off the pace to allow Dylan Groenewegen an easy ride up this climb, save the legs as much as possible, keep all that firepower intact. And finally in this tour, he showed us on stage 7 that intrinsically, at the moment, he's the fastest man in the peloton. It was really close with Caleb Ewan, who was coming late. But the well-timed acceleration of the Dutchman was enough.
And look at the front of the peloton now as they've hit the climb. Jumbo-Visma have tried to shut it down and really back off that pace.
For the
breakaway, they can't be holding out too much hope. Yesterday, Oliver Narsson, who was in that big breakaway group, he came in with the second contingent. He said he always believed, he always held out a bit of hope.
This is Le Viaduc de Vior.
And this one was inaugurated on the 5th of October 1903. It was just a single track viaduct. And it was listed as a historical monument back in 1984. Cantilever girder bridge, some 460 metres across, and stands at 116 metres above the river below. And it was another one of the competitions to try and get the job to build this bridge. And Gustave Eiffel of the Eiffel Tower, he applied, but he missed out on this occasion. And it was Paul Bourdon who got the rights to be able to build this viaduct. Some 3,800 tonnes of metal involved in the construction of that. It's one of the, at the time it was created, it was one of the largest metal arches that was built.
And this is La Chapelle Notre-Dame de la Planque, and it
translates essentially as plank. And the word coming back from the dialect of this area of Occitania, and it was built back in the 11th century.
Well, this region, Occitanie, also hosted a tour most recently, won by the man on the left of screen. Right on cue, Alejandro Valverde, the world champion.
And look at the way the intensity has dropped off, but a guy like Valverde wants to make the most of this, to squeeze his way up towards the front. And the yellow jersey Julian Alaphilippe, when he first entered the pro peloton, as a kid, his hero was Alejandro Valverde. And one of the first pro races that he rode, that Valverde was in, he asked one of the French guys that was riding one of the motorbikes that regulates the traffic in the race, who he knew spoke Spanish, if he could introduce him to Alejandro Valverde. And now they've had a really good rivalry in races like Liège-Bastogne-Liège and Flèche-Wallonne, and Valverde really likes Julian Alaphilippe.
And they're such similar riders on the same sort of terrain that they perform, can climb that turn of speed, that real punch on the uphills, like on the Mur de Huy in Flèche-Wallonne, which Alejandro Valverde has won.
No, more.
4 or 5 times?
Oh, I don't want to get this wrong. I've got to check the notes for Valverde.
Yeah, have a look for me.
Flèche-Wallonne, he has won it 5.
5 times.
Liège 4, Flèche-Wallonne 5. Alaphilippe has won Flèche-Wallonne twice.
Very, very similar. That really hard acceleration they can make on those steep slopes. They've really got some real low down power. Big torque is what they've got. It's not the high-end speed of real sprinters, but a lot of torque, and they can access it when they're right in the red zone. When everybody else goes over the edge, that's when they make that acceleration. But they get everybody right onto the absolute limit, and then they make the acceleration. They've just got that bit more, and it's a of Alejandro Valverde. But I'd say as good as Alaphilippe is, and as great it is what he's done so far, still got a fair bit of catching up to do to match the palmarès of Alejandro Valverde.
Indeed he has, who has been a winner of a Grand Tour. He's finished 3rd at the Tour de France, and all those successes in one-day races. Plus the rainbow jersey last year, which the man in yellow, Julian Alaphilippe, is targeting this year in Yorkshire.
So you look at how similar they are, and know that Alejandro Valverde has won a Grand Tour. Why not for Julian Alaphilippe? And although he's saying, no, I'm not here for GC, just like Stephen Kruijswijk doesn't believe him at the moment.
It's a response. As long as he is in front of me, he is a rival.
He's a rival, and he'll see how long he can hang on to that yellow jersey.
This breakaway group, they're still holding. He spoke about this yesterday. When he was chasing the two leaders, Daryl Impey and Tish Burnett, he still believed maybe they play cat and mouse. Maybe we get back on. Now the ballot. Things calm down. And what was down to a 40-second advantage for the break is back out to 1:30.
It's now more than doubled from what down.
Luke Rowe
said, hey, do you want a taste? Do you want a bit of variety? Now, you've been on this Movistar team for a lot of years now. Want to try some of the stuff we got? And tomorrow, I'll try some of your stuff.
He has been. But he started with the Calamay team. That's where he made his debut in the pro peloton. But he joined Movistar under a different sponsor in 2005, and his contract runs until 2021. Keep in mind, from this year, he celebrated his 39th birthday.
It's already 15 years with the same team.
This group working really well together. It's a 6-man team time trial today.
Just 200 metres from the top of the climb. Burhan, he's the man on the front and going to take
Putting in a super performance, Burhan. Flying the flag for Eritrea, also for Kofidis, picking up more points in the King of the Mountains classification. In 5th, but Christian Eiking wants some points. Burhan, has he got the speed? We need the camera in front. It is Burhan who gets there.
I think Eiking was going to do it, and then Burhan looked sideways at him. And I wonder exactly what he would have said. But surely it would have been, you don't need them. Plus Eiking won the sprint.
Yeah. And to his credit, number 152, when it came to the intermediate sprint, no word spoken there. They've got the job to get on with. When it came to the intermediate sprint, Burhan did not contest for any of the points because he'd taken all the...
I think it must have occurred to Eiking right near the top as he drew alongside Burhan. Oh no, this is not the right thing to do. And just backed it off again. Certainly had the speed to beat him if he wanted to.
Maxim Moffat in the middle for Sudar Lotto. They're working for a man of speed, Caleb Ewan this afternoon. Tony Martin in the yellow colours. He's working for the arguably quickest sprinter. It's marginal between Caleb and Dylan Groenewegen. And off to the left, it's Stefan King, who's doing the job for their big hope, their overall standings, Thibaut Pinot.
Let's see where we end up.
For those at home who didn't catch the discussion a few days ago, it is Stefan King, the Swiss from FDJ. It is spelt K-U with a, I'm not sure of the name, the symbol on top of it, N-G. So as English speakers, you are drawn to saying Kung. He says himself, it's pronounced King.
Which makes it easier.
So we're going with King.
It's been really intriguing hearing Michael Morkov or Mikael Murku, and he says the Danish pronunciation, but he's more than happy to go with the anglicised version in the English language.
I think he's just heard it so much that he just gave up on it, rather than teaching everybody every time. Another one was, in English, you would pronounce it, just look at it and say, Egan Bernal. It's Egan Bernal.
And it's a name we'll be talking about on tipping for about 15 years.
Yeah, let's get it right because it's going to be talked about a lot.
Tony Martin, we've been talking about him for a long time. It's the German version at the front who's doing the pace, and they just squeeze him through that car. And look at the damage, though, that it's done to the breakaway. It's back down to 1 minute and 20 seconds. Calmajan is really struggling at the back of the peloton. He's had a tough season. You'd note that he's got number 1 at the end of his number, 171. He's the guy that the team thinks is their best prospect. He's their number 1. Not this year, he's not.
Well, maybe another sick rider in the peloton.
Rigoberto Urán, the rider in 3rd position in the pink colours. That's the one they're protecting.
And you saw the effort he had to make Langeveld, the classic specialist, the Dutch comfortable.
Robbie Alaphilippe now coming to the front, the yellow jersey himself, followed by Elia Viviani.
Well, Viviani, the sprinter, he is coming through to do a turn now. So you look at the trees in the background, that crosswind has picked up, little uphill drag. Tim Wellens, he has let go. He says, well, I've done enough so far in this tour. I'm just going to roll on in and collect another one of these spotted jerseys.
There'll be no change in the King of the Mountains classification, not today. That waits for the Pyrenees. There's the wind indicator. That's the breakaway at 105. Those cars will need to get called out in a hurry because this gap could close down in the blink of an eye.
Still all gradually downhill, and the course has swung back a little more to the left again. That's why it's opened itself up to this crosswind. And Ineos come through. Geraint Thomas in here as well. Egan Bernal, Kwiatkowski, all present and accounted for.
This is the cross-off at the back. Those that will not be contesting for the stage honours. At the blue colours of the Koenig Quickstep for the first time right at the front in Enric Mas.
Well, it's a small group at the front now. That is a much bigger split. Riders scrambling across the gap. Coming in threes and fours. A little bit bigger group coming behind.
67 kilometres per hour back in the peloton.
A lot of riders being offloaded. And it just shows you how difficult the first 10 days of this Tour de France has been.
The yellow jersey, Mr. Panache, is followed by Nairo Quintana.
Oh, look at this at the back. The suffering, the panic, trying to stay in contention. These four riders, they are now in huge trouble.
That is good riding by Nairo Quintana. He doesn't have teammates around him. He's looking after himself. Quintana is riding with the confidence of the Nairo of 2013-14.
Bit of a narrowing, swinging through to the right-hand side. Still, we'll be picking up a little bit of crosswind. A couple of riders rejoining back. Big chase group coming into that same spot. A long single file line. And that is giving it up here at the back. The AG2R rider, he says, that's enough. I can't cross that.
This is Viviani at the front. One of the favourites for the sprint finish. He's making it difficult for the sprinters.
That was Benoit Cosnefroy who was being offloaded. Been active in this tour. Had a crash as well on day one.
Oh, look at that in the gutter. And the pink colours of EF Education First, who started it, they're starting to get shuffled backwards.
Well, they started it, but it looks at the moment like Ineos, along with the Koenig Quickstep, are going to finish it. 46 seconds the gap. That has been halved. 32 kilometres to go. This is not what the sprinters will have wanted on the run-in. Marc Soler.
Yes, it is, from the breakaway yesterday. This is Matteo Trentin now coming through in the white, and he's got Adam Yates behind him. Good riding by Matteo Trentin.
Pre-stage that we've been talking about, Matteo Trentin, it's for you, ride the sprint. But first, we must make sure Adam's looked after. Get to a situation like this, Trentin, immediately switch roles, look after him, make sure we're okay. He's got to make sure he gets in a wheel, saves energy, not get caught out. This is not over yet.
He's in a good position. He's behind Kwiatkowski. Moscon. And then, now, and look at all the riders in pink from EF Education First. They tried to start it, and now they're paying the price. They are chasing. That is the second group on the road. Don't start a fight, you can't finish. In cycling, don't start an echelon, you can't finish.
Well, this one has really blown up in their face. For EF, started quickly. They wanted to be aggressive. They knew the right moment was coming. But your timing has to be pinpoint accurate. This is going to be the third group on the road, I imagine.
This is Mohoric from Bahrain Merida. Magnus Cort Nielsen is there for a starter. Lars Back is in this group, and we've seen Lars at the rear of the race a lot throughout this year's tour.
And also Dylan Turns back here. Luke Durbridge.
Yes,
Pollard.
Durbridge. And still Bennett. This is bad news for the Kiwi. Bennett is in that group. He starts today in 4th place overall.
Stag Lungen, along with a teammate, 1, 2, 4. That's Costa.
Bonifacio was in that group for Total Direct Energy. Well, one rider has been eliminated from the general classification today, and it looks like, unfortunately, it's one of our favourites, the climbing Kiwi. It is Bennett who's in that third group on the road.
We've about 5k ahead with the start.
Is exactly that. It's not crosshead, it's not cross tail, it's cross.
So he said after the climb, it went a little bit more around to the right in the course. Now it swung back to the left, almost heading directly in a southerly direction, and that really opens them up to a tail crosswind.
Michael Matthews from Sunweb.
A lot of the sprinters getting involved. The safest thing to do is do a turn. You stay in that line, you do one little turn on the front, but the rest of the time you're protected perfectly in the wheels. So the best form of defence is to be amongst that attack.
In the chasing group, behind the split, Thibaut Pinot, Jakob Fuglsang, Richie Portes. They're on the back foot. It can change on any day. They are paying the price. Here they come. This is the chase. Education first. Groupama FDJ. Trek Segafredo. It is desperation.
Well, it's absolutely all hands on deck here in the chase now in the final 30 kilometres. Education first. They knew the opportunity was coming. Maybe just jumped the gun a little bit. And when the moment really was right, it was De Koning, Quickstep and Ineos who took over at the front.
Well, they've gotten their metaphorical shoelace caught in the chain. They've put themselves in a bad position. There's the sprinter Dylan Groenewegen. And they've got some work to do to close it down. Uran, Fuglsang, Pinot, Nibali, Ciccone. Bennett's in the next group further back. There's Volker Mollema. There is Richie Porte just going through the screen.
A couple of riders, Jasper Burst, Max Schachmann, Jonathan Castroviejo. So Dylan Groenewegen is one of the big losers at the moment. Even Ciccone is there as well.
Well, he is back there, part of the Trek Segafredo team, to try and save the tour for Richie Porte. He's made it through stage 9, but can he get through stage 10 without losing a big chunk of time?
This group is the first one on the road behind the breakaway.
The biggest loser today, time-wise, for a high place overall, is number 82 in yellow, George Bennett. Started the day in 4th place. Another look at where they are on the road. The breakaway, all of a sudden, seems insignificant. The peloton contains the defending champion, Geraint Thomas, likewise Nairo Quintana and Egan Bernal. In the second group, Richie Porte, Thibaut Pinot and Jakob Fuglsang. In the next group, further back, it's the Kiwi, George Bennett.
And as far as the wind goes, it is not going to get any easier. It's still going to be hitting them on the side all the way in. And in fact, the run into Albi, they'll even pick up a tailwind, make the gap incredibly hard to close.
Tony Martin in this group. So too Marco Haller. Luke Durbridge is here. This is Chris Juliensen. Riders from Astana. This is Bennett. This is the last group on the road. George Bennett, he said it was a tough day yesterday to watch the cricket. It will be even tougher today. If only he wasn't collecting the biddens when he was. He has spent so much time at the front throughout this year's race. One momentary lapse, and it wasn't really a lapse in concentration. It was the call by the sports director to go back and collect biddens.
The lead group about to turn a little bit more to the right, a very short section where it won't be as much crosswind. It'll start to be a little bit more into the face. I don't think that's going to be long enough for what is here, the second peloton at 38 seconds. It's not going to be a long enough section for them to close out. It's 27 seconds, the difference. This is the peloton at 10 seconds with the yellow jersey of Julien Alaphilippe.
And it is Marcus Burkhardt who was on the front. Plenty of riders in there from Ineos. Likewise, Sunweb for Michael Matthews. The yellow jersey is there. This is a desperate chase. This is William Bonnet now coming through for Groupama FDJ. This is the group of the big French hope, Thibaut Pinot.
Also, Jakob Fuglsang, also Richie Porte, George Bennett back here, but his teammate Kruiswijk is in the front.
Yes, so that's good news for Jumbo-Visma. And Bennett is in the group behind
this one.
Incredible.
So the cooperation in the chasing group, the second peloton on the road, is Trek Segafredo for Porte, FDJ for Thibaut Pinot, and Astana for Jakob Fuglsang. But this is a big opportunity for the GC favourites who have made the front split, drive it all the way in and take some time on a really unexpected occasion.
In distance, the gap between the Geraint Thomas group and the Thibaut Pinot group is 550 metres.
We've said it a number of times this week, even on the flat stage, expect to be a sprint. You cannot afford to let your guard down and get caught out. I think on this occasion, as much as maybe letting their guard down very slightly, they've just been ridden out of the wheel on power and speed when the riders who are better at riding in the crosswinds have just given it everything, and the pure climbers have been shot out the back.
And in all that drama, the breakaway of 6 have just been caught. Hugo
Hula.
This is a disappointing day for George Bennett.
This is a big blow for Benton. I think they even took the wrong side of that roundabout. You saw riders pass them and shoot out on the left-hand side in front of them. Pace has now gone out of this group. Look at the front. The organisation's gone a little Dylan van Baal on the front. It is now Bora Hansgrohe coming back to the front to increase the pace again. That might just be enough for the group behind to get a sniff and make that last push to cross the gap.
The group behind won't pause. That could be the difference. As we pan back, the gap's still big. It's strung out in single file, but the gap, yes, it is. It's still big. It's 400 metres. That's Richie Port himself, by the looks of it, going towards the front. No, that's Julian Bernard. Next in line is Tom Scoynes. Then it is Anthony Roux from Groupama FDJ. His head is bobbling away.
They can't afford for anybody to sit back and not do a turn here. As we said before, Pinot came through, did a turn. Richie Port also needs to go through and ride at the front every contribution if they're going to shut this down. Chasing Ineos and Bora, who are the big drivers of this group. Now De Koning Quickstep have taken a back seat looking after Elia Viviani, and we're due to get a little bit more crosswind again. It swung right the course, more west. It's going to swing south again. The wind is going to come in from the side.
And Valverde is playing the role of the super domestique. He knows that Nairo Quintana is in that front group. Other big rivals are in the second group. So Valverde is pushing the tempo.
Luis Leon Sanchez coming through in the front for Astana. They pick up Mickey Scher all day in the break. He'll just drift through and out the back. What fun I thought I saw in this group. Groenewegen further back. So the big sprinter for Jumbo-Visma missing out on the move as well. Caleb Ewan hasn't been spotted, but I imagine he must be in the front, or we would have seen him.
He's the shortest rider in the race. He can sometimes be a little difficult to find. This is Lutsenko, followed by Sanchez. Then Kruiswijk from Jumbo-Visma off to the right-hand side of the screen. In the situation. Roman Kreuziger is with the green helmet on, just behind the yellow jersey, as Alaphilippe collects from a Soignier on the side of the road.
Viti, the big Spaniard in blue, behind Kwiatkowski ready to come through. Nel up there, Luke Rowe further back, gritting the teeth. Warren Barguil has made the move, the French champion.
I could sense the little hint of surprise in the tone of your voice with Warren Barguil.
The gap is now 230 metres, but going uphill, so the time gap is still about the same, 29 seconds. This is George Bennett, a minute and a half behind the front of the race.
And more importantly than that,
Movistar, they now sense a huge opportunity for Nairo Quintana. Get rid of some other contenders. Fuglsang, Pinot, Richie Port. This one is going to go all the way to the line.
Ciccone, he's in the second group, second in the overall classification. He's in the second group on the road. Adam Yates is there for Mitchelton Scott. He is right behind Geraint Thomas from Ineos. The gap, 24 seconds, 400 metres on the road. Quick catching from Geraint Thomas from the Soignier on the side. Egan Bernal doing the same. Matteo Trentin collecting from an Ineos Soignier on the side of the road. Not one of his team helpers, but they were happy to give him a bid on nonetheless.
Nelson Oliveira, then it's Luke Rowe, Moscon, Dylan van Baal.
Kees Bol at the back for Sunweb. This is the first group on the road, so that's good news for Michael Matthews, who is still in this group.
There is Caleb Ewan.
Caleb was in there. So you just caught a glimpse of his skin. So this is Lutsenko. Behind him is Ciccone, the white jersey, the best young rider. Fourth in line is Richie Port. Third in line is Jakob Fuglsang. Sixth in line, or seventh, it is Thibaut Pinot. They're the three big hopes for the general classification. They need to throw everything at it. Bad day for Bennett. Very bad day for George Bennett. So unfortunate. The Kiwi was loaded up with bidons at just the wrong moment.
Well, they're on the top of this hill at 200 kilometres covered with 17 and a half to go. This is the best opportunity for the chasing group to close it down. 16 seconds. This is where the contenders like Fuglsang, Port, Pinot have got to do everything they can to cross the gap, because if this group here gets across this plateau and starts the downhill, it's good night, Irene.
This is Gianni, not Irene at the front. It's Moscon who's charging, followed then by Van Baal.
You can see them in the background, just back of screen. You can spot the chase group. It's getting closer, 13 seconds. Nervous moments for the directors in the team cars. They're getting close. Still a lot of work to do to get this shut down.
It's never over until it's over. We've seen it a couple of times already with riders trying to join a breakaway. They're almost there. And riders from this group have been spat out the back door.
Starting to lose helpers.
That's how high the tempo is.
That's Fuglsang, goes through and off the front. Who's coming through next? Richie Port it is. Reichenbach behind him. Pinot. More riders of Trek Segafredo. This is a team's time trial.
And at the top of that little hill, you saw the 3D graphic. That is crunch time for the chasing group at 13 seconds. It's a long 13 seconds, and it's a small group. A really small group.
It's only really the favourites and a couple of helpers left in this group. Really time to get it shut.
Rigoberto Urán, it was his team that started it all. That is incredible. That might be Guillaume Martin from Monte Group Goubert at the back.
Well, the gap, 200 metres on the road.
Dan Martin, is it?
Fabio Aru.
Fabio Aru. 1-2-2 is Fabio Aru. And just in front of him is Sergio Henao. So Fabio Aru was in that group. He's been distanced from sitting on the wheels. That's how hard they're riding.
Well, had that tough little rise. They're onto that little downhill section now. And so tantalising to see this group riding in front. Yves Lampard comes through, keeping the pace high. Quib Cosby been doing a lot of work as well.
Kostelberger now for the Bora Hansgrohe team.
Nelson Oliveira pushing on for Nairo
It's taken a long
Quintana.
time to catch up, Jessica.
Into the tuck position.
Amador.
And it is Guillaume Martin. A flick of the elbow from Fabio Aru. They're in real trouble.
They're in huge trouble. That is the chase group right in front of them with Richie Port, Jakob Fuglsang, Rigoberto Urán.
Meanwhile, for Fabio Aru, the good news is for UAE, his teammate Dan Martin, the Irishman, who's been a top 10 finisher, is in the front group.
For this group here, the only good news at the moment is that De Koning Quickstep have taken a back seat in that front group and starting to look after the interests of Elia Viviani and whoever's left to do a lead out.
Chasing group at 12 seconds, Rigoberto Urán, Thibaut Pinot, Richie Port, Jakob Fuglsang. Fabio Aru will not be catching that group.
Importantly for support there, Mollema for Richie Port, Lutsenko for Fuglsang. There's still some firepower in that group.
Ciccone, the white jersey, best young rider.
I think he's still there.
Likewise.
There's been a lot of riders jettisoned from that group in the chase, and they're just not quite able to get it closed. De Koning Quickstep, they're still committing Yves Lampard to driving the pace on the front.
Ciccone has lost contact with that group. You can see by the general classification he's slipping backwards.
Just looking at the fact that De Koning Quickstep are letting Yves Lampard ride on the front, the jersey of Alaphilippe is safe, but that as contenders off the back like they are, I think he's starting to think about GC, and I'm assuming that Enric Mas is also comfortably in this group.
I think he will be. So that is to the benefit of the entire De Koning Quickstep team. They're chasing all of the prizes. You can see the gap on the road. They're not closing it down. It's stabilised the gap for the last little bit. And for the riders in this group, it might start to go in the wrong direction.
I think it is going in the wrong direction. Race radio telling us 300 metres the gap between the two groups. Looks like the impetus started to go out of it. They're trying as hard as they can. They're starting to struggle.
It's not for lack of effort. This is Rudy Mollard. Is it at the back, number 53? No, it's David Goudot, the young climber David Goudot at the rear for Groupama FDJ. And number 163 in this group from Sudalolo, that is Jasper de Boost. He's not going to work.
No, he's got Caleb Ewan in the front, no. And now the car's going through in between. That signifies the gap is opening. Neutral spares follow through the official Tour de France director's car.
It was down to 12 seconds. It's back out to 23 seconds. Valverde with a flick of the elbow. Luke Rowe, I wonder what he had to say to Alejandro. Burkhardt, then Ost, then Quintana, then Yves Lampard, followed by Kwiatkowski, the next in the red and black colours.
The chasing group, they can't afford to lose their morale. It's yo-yoed, it was way out, it came back into 12 or 13 seconds. The pace here at the front are going to start to tire. They've got to keep pushing on, hope for just a lull in the pace that they can close back in. 14.5 kilometres to go.
One of the questions that has been asked regularly throughout the first week and in the lead up to the race, who's the leader at Movistar? Is it Quintana or Mikel Landa? It's Nairo Quintana because he's in Group 1. Mikel Landa is in Group 3.
Richie Porte just coming back off the front. The yellow helmet looking sideways, getting himself in. There is the crosswind. You can see it on the Union Jack flying. And their team, Ineos, has been doing some big damage.
At the back of the group for Astana with the bandages still on from the crash on day one. It's Jakob Fuglsang.
It looks like they put in their maximum effort on that little uphill trying to close the gap down completely. When they didn't get it shut, the gap has blown back out.
Ciccone in white, just in front of him is Mikel Landa from Movistar.
Yep.
So no longer a two-pronged attack from Movistar, it's just one, it's just Nairo Quintana.
No, that is Group 3, 1 minute and 6 seconds behind the lead of the race. 650 metres between the leading peloton and the group with Pinot, Richie Porte, Jakob Fuglsang and Rigoberto Urán. So some big contenders for a possible podium in this Tour de France, being ridden out of it at the moment on a quite innocuous looking transfer stage before the rest day.
Never a dull moment. Not when the wind springs up. In fourth position is the Colombian climber Bernal.
He doesn't miss moves like this.
He did. This is how he won Paris-Nice. Well, this was a big part of it. He was in the front, crosswinds.
Kilometres ago, Ineos came to the front with Luke Rowe, increased the pace, a little tester, and as soon as they knew it was the right moment in the finale, after EF started it, Ineos are going about finishing it now.
This is Mike Turnison at the back of this group. 35 seconds for the Thibaut Pinot group, which includes Richie Porte, Jakob Fuglsang, and also Rigoberto Urán. The white jersey group that also includes Vincenzo Nibali, Ciccone in this group at 1 minute and 10.
Is Dylan Groenewegen still in this group? He was earlier, but I think he might have been offloaded on that little climb.
Yeah, well, either way, he's out of contention for the sprint finish.
This our chase group now at 40 seconds with Porte, Thibaut, Pinot, Fuglsang with Lutsenko in front of him, Rigoberto Urán, number 91. Back of that group, Godot, number 53, struggling to get the wheel.
Thibaut Pinot really struggling at the rear of the group as well. This, with 11 kilometres to go, a little bit more.
Oh, shut that. Come on, what the fuck is
it's
this?
going to be over a minute by the time they reach the
It
finish
is looking like it. They got it into 12
come
seconds.
on.
That was as close as they got. And it seems that has really burnt this group. And they cannot get it closed.
Sonny Colbrelli is in the front group for the sprint finish. So too is Michael Matthews. Peter Sagan we've seen. We think we've spotted Caleb Ewan. This is group number 3 that we're on board with.
That's Nelson Oliveira, who is just going out the back of that group.
Also at the back here from Dimension Data, Ben King. No surprise.
This is the group then with Landa.
Yes. So we know who the team leader is now.
Alexander Kristoff also in this group, number 126 from UAE. Another sprinter missing from the front. looking like Colbrelli is in front, Viviani is there, and so is Caleb Ewan.
Another one in there, don't discount him. You'll like this, Greg Van Avermaet.
Well, I thought he might try and anticipate and go early. There's a lot of guys missing out of this front group who'd formed the lead-out train. Could be becoming the perfect situation for a late attack and for the sprinters want to go hard.
At the midway point on the stage, 100 kilometres to go, our discussion was the harder it is, the better it is for Greg Van Avermaet. Hard enough for you? It's hard. It's hard for these guys. What a demoralising day to go into the first rest day for number 71, Jakob Fuglsang. Likewise, 51, Thibaut Pinot, 91, Rigoberto Urán, and also the leader for Trek Segafredo, 131, Richie Portes.
It's looking quite difficult, still climbing at the moment. Difficult for me.
This is Rudy Millar at the back of the group for Groupama FDJ.
Now this just illustrates why you've got to consider every single stage of the Tour de France as crucial. It can happen at any given moment. On a day where we even thought there's not enough wind to really split it to pieces, you get the right gust of wind on the right part of the course, it suddenly opens up, and then teams seize that opportunity to go on with it.
The gap is out to 750 metres, so they won't be able to see them. That is demoralising.
This will be a minute. And this will be over a minute by the time they reach the finish.
I think we're heading north of 60 seconds. Sleep for the men in this group was all looking so positive for the man in pink, the Colombian climber, Rigoberto Urán. He had the confidence to put his team on the fronts. Now he's the one that is paying the price. Warren Barguil, the French national champion. He won't be sprinting to stage on us, but he will have a boost of confidence by being in this group. 62, the world champion. That is Alejandro Valverde. 2:16 at the back. That's the former under-23 world champion, Kevin Ludanois. At the front for De Koning Quickstep, it's the young Dane, Kasper Asgreen. This has gone from a day of transition, one for the sprinters, to a day where the general classification has taken a real shake-up. Kwiatkowski driving it for Ineos. They know that they are putting the sword to a few of the key rivals for the defending champion, Geraint Thomas.
Well, we've seen them do it in other tours before. They take the opportunity when it presents itself and then take full advantage. This is Pinot, number 51, one of the big losers of today, along with Fuglsang, Porte and Urán. Big contenders and massively caught out on this stage.
51. Often referred to as the lucky number in cycling. That is a myth. It's not a lucky number for number 51 in 2019. A minute and 10 seconds.
1 kilometre on the road, the gap between these two groups. It's just going to be a matter of how big a time gap is it, and it's now Sunweb on the front for Michael Matthews. Plenty of teammates.
5 riders from Sunweb in this diminished front group. They are the second best or equal best representative team.
On the wheel of Matthews, Caleb Ewan. Behind him, Peter Sagan to be flat out getting a slipstream there. So many riders here from Sunweb. 5 in a row for Michael Matthews. Under 2 kilometres to go. Caleb Ewan, Colbrelli has fought his way onto his wheel. Peter Sagan behind him. Ewan has got to watch out he doesn't get swamped and boxed in.
And Matteo Trentin, he is behind Elia Viviani, who has Max Richesi just in front of him.
Jasper Philipsen up here for UAE, no Alexander Kristoff, but the young Belgian who was fifth a few days ago is here.
In the white.
He's tracking Viviani.
He is in the white, about 12th position.
Next to him, Viviani, just in front, Max Richesi. Sunweb in control. 3 men left in front of Michael Matthews. Caleb Ewan riding the slipstream of him. The battle on behind. Colbrelli, Sagan behind him. Someone else up alongside. And Wout van Aert.
He's there in the black and the yellow colours. Richesi is being stalked by Matteo Trentin. Oliver Naesen is there for AG2R. 1 kilometre. Wout the Magnificence.
Well, Wout van Aert, he showed us in the Dauphiné, he's got horsepower at his disposal. It was going to be all about Groenewegen today. So was stage 1 and Teunissen won it. Today, no Groenewegen. Wout van Aert survives, takes on the best sprinters and beats them.
4 stage wins for the team, 3 different riders, plus the team.
Cyclocross world champion. It was a battle with Elia Viviani. From the overhead, in control at the front with Sunweb. They started to come. Caleb Ewan forced to go early when they went. He just got through the middle, and here he just started to fade. Van Aert in front. Viviani got over the top. Viviani just hit the front, and then Van Aert, he fought back. Caleb Ewan third. Michael Matthews fourth. It's the throw on the line that gets it. Van Aert, the extension. Viviani just hunched. That is the difference in the stage win. The Belgian, a much better throw over the Italian.
Which is not what you would expect given the track background of Elia Viviani. And the contrast between first and second, tears of joy to tears of disappointment. La Cathedral, Saint-Cécile, a day of prayers for those that lost time in the battle for the general classification, a day of celebration for Wout van Aert, and another win for Jumbo-Visma. Viviani in second, another third place finish for Caleb Ewan, Michael Matthews in fourth, Sagan was fifth, Phillips in sixth, O'Brien seventh, followed by Matteo Trentin, Oliver Naesen, and Greg Van Avermaet rounding out the top 10 on a day packed full of drama. Here's a look again at the general classification. Alaphilippe 112 ahead of the defending champion Geraint Thomas. Egan Bernal at 116. It's in Kruijswijk, who rode well again today. He's in fourth. Bookman is in fifth. Enric Mas continues to impress in fifth. Adam Yates likewise. Nairo Quintana is the man for Movistar. Dan Martin, very good. Giulio Ciccone, he's in 10th position at 2 minutes and 32 seconds behind, but he's heading in the wrong direction. His teammate Richie Porte almost 4 minutes behind. After the destruction by Simon de Montfort, the Citadel in Saint-Marcel, they moved through to this region to be able to produce this town. The town was a subject of cruelty throughout the Inquisition as well.
I'm still technically
It was taken apart, took a big part in the uprising against those practices. Throughout the Middle Ages, it was well known for its leatherwork, cloth and embroidery up until around 1920. And it is classified as one of the most beautiful towns in France. It's also a stopover on the way of St. James. It has a well in the centre of the town which is covered, but the well goes to the depths of 113 metres. Also got a museum in there to sugar and chocolate. It doesn't sound too healthy, but it sounds pretty tasty.
Sounds like it's worth a visit. 2 minutes 25 for our breakaway of 4. They're racing the first 54 kilometres of this stage through the department of the Tarn. They cross into Tarn and Garonne, the two rivers that converge, and they'll end up in the Haute-Garonne as they come into Toulouse.
This is Rosetto at the front, his third time in a breakaway. He's had the red number throughout this year's race, so he's had an opportunity to step up onto the podium. He collected the red number, incidentally, on the opening stage when he was in the breakaway with Greg Van Avermaet, who didn't spend too long on the breakaway, just did enough to collect the points for the King of the Mountains jersey and guarantee himself a spot on the podium. Out in front, holding on to a 2:25 advantage. It won't get too much more than that, I don't think. Let's take a look at Rigoberto Urán. He's been second in this race in the past. On stage 10, he lost a big chunk of time, but he's one of the sport's great characters. Lise Saint-Pierre and Saint-Paul. Moving along pretty quickly at this point, the breakaway group. Tiny little village that they're going through, just a couple of hundred residents in this little village. Rigoberto Urán is a rider that would have been really disappointed with stage 10 as well. His team went to the front to try and shake things up, but they started an echelon, they couldn't finish.
There's been a number of analogies used to describe the way it went down for EF 2 days ago in the race into Albi, because they did start the hostility. Simon Clark got them up to the front and started putting the pressure on when the wind was building and started to really hit them on a more open section of the course. And it has been said things like they started a fight, they couldn't finish. They started a fire, they couldn't put out. Even heard it said it's it's like walking up to the likes of a heavyweight boxer, punching him in the face, and then standing there with your hands behind your back.
Says Michael Matthews. He'll be throwing some punches at the end, metaphorically, of the stage today. He's not one of the favourites to win the stage because it's just not difficult enough at the end. He wants a slightly uphill finish. But he looked a little flat on stage 10 when he was in a good position. He had really good team support around him for the first time.
He did, and each sprint is so different from every other. There's so many little factors that come in, and sometimes being led out and on the front is not ideal. And he had 4 teammates in front of him. Then it was him, then it was Caleb, but it was Michael Matthews and Caleb who looked to be struggling the most in the sprint, heavy, a bit bogged down, where the others came flying out of the wheels and over the top of them. I just think after the efforts they've made in the crosswinds, those tough little hills towards the end of the stage, maybe just riding at the front and getting a little less slipstream cost them coming right into the end, because there was that little uphill kick just before the sprint started, and the others just seemed to be coming with a little more momentum from behind. It was like the speed was going down at the front, and the others were able to anticipate well and come over the top.
A lot has been made about the socks when it was the team time trial. They measured the sock height. You can see the socks here of Michael Matthews. They are very high. It's not just about fashion. It doesn't come down simply to how they look. There's aerodynamics thought about in terms of those socks, and they're not normal cotton socks that you would buy at the bike shop. They make the claim with the aero testing that the socks will save them around about 3 watts in terms of power output required to go at the same speed that they may be going at. It's a claim that I can't confirm, but it's one that has been published a few times. With the peloton now into containment mode of the breakaway, let's go early and move into the media medal. The Tour media medal at the top of the table is George Bennett on 7 points. He currently leads. And then Geraint Thomas, Alex Dowsett, Dylan Groenewegen there on 5 points. Michael Woods on 4. And they have got one more Category 4 climb to come on today's stage. It's just 2.5 kilometres long, with an average gradient less than 4%. That one tops out at 90 kilometres to go, so there's still a fair way before they reach the base of that. Then 10 kilometres later on, at 80 k's to go, there is the sprint for the points in the race for the green jersey. That intermediate sprint, and I'm looking forward to seeing who gets involved in that sprint from back in the peloton. There's still plenty of points up for grabs as it goes from first all the way down to 15th place to collect points in the race for green. We've seen Sonny Colbrelli from Bahrain Merida very active in those intermediate sprints. Michael Matthews has been conservative, so too is Peter Sagan, who continues to defend his lead in that classification.
Literally a skip that coming up, because Jessica was hosting 9 more. I'm barely getting any pace on, or any distance on.
Relaxing way to spend the summer holidays. Was invited. It was a public holiday on Monday for Bastille Day. It was the 15th of July, then not 14 Juillet. That was on the Sunday, but the public holiday that was held on the Monday. Back at the rear of the peloton, Dimension Data, they've had a pretty quiet sort of a tour so far. The biggest talking point has been the fight by Edvald Bosenhagen to get back in contact on the stage that was into Colmar.
Well, Matt, the Tour de France is not the only race going on in July. Of course, it's the one that gets the most publicity and has the big name riders. Of course, it's in the Tour of Austria. Last week, it finished. An interesting race on the moment is the Tour of Qinghai Lake in China. And we spoke just before about the Puy Henri de Grange, the highest point of this Tour de France at 2,770 metres. Well, the Tour of Qinghai Lake, yesterday's stage, it was a stage with 2 climbs. The highest point on that stage, 3,745 metres above sea level.
That's nosebleed territory.
Guess which country had the riders who were first and second on the stage, considering those altitudes?
Colombia.
Yeah, correct. So more Colombians coming through. We've already spoken a lot about guys like Quintana, Uran, and now the youngest of these big-name riders, Egan Bernal. You look at the altitudes they're used to. I'm really looking forward to some of their performances above that 2,000 metre mark where it really starts to bite in. And it looks like they've got more riders waiting in the wings to follow in their footsteps over the next few years. But those altitudes there, that race in China, approaching 4,000 metres above sea level.
Well, the intermediate sprint was at 2,200 metres. Oh,
and that is where the plateau, that's one of the flat stages that all run above 2,000 metres.
And there was a sprint stage one there at the start of the race to get underway by Brenton Jones, the young Australian sprinter who rides with the French team, Delco Marseille. 2:25, this main peloton, they've really kept a tight handle on that breakaway group. They haven't given them too much time at all to play with. Three teams at the front doing the chasing. Jumbo-Visma, they've won 4 stages already in this race. The Koenig Quick-Step, they've managed to pick up a couple of stage victories. Alaphilippe along with Viviani, plus they've got Julian Alaphilippe in the yellow jersey. Soudal Lotto, they're chasing. They've had a stage victory already. That's courtesy of Thomas again. But today they are working for their sprinter, Caleb Ewan. This is Lilian Kalmajan, the rider that initiated this breakaway, leaving his hometown of Albi.
And a stage like tomorrow's with 130 kilometres on flat roads before 2 final climbs and then down to the finish. That's one the sprinters call a mental rest day. Just follow the wheels all the way through to the start of the climb, then just ride your own pace like it's a training ride through to the finish. It's a rolling day off.
Well, the intermediate sprint on tomorrow's stage, that comes with 79 kilometres to go, just as they hit the base of the Col de Peyrasourde. So before the first Category 1 climb, and it's when they go through the town of Bagnères-de-Luchon, one of the most visited towns in the history of the Tour. I can't help but wonder if Michael Matthews might try to sneak in the move there, and Peter Sagan would mark him if he does try to go.
He'll definitely mark him. He'll definitely mark him if he tries to go in the break. And even if, say, it's only a group of 5 or 6 up the road and there's still points available at the intermediate sprint, the guys who want those points, they can afford to sprint full gas for it, because then they can just recover from it on the lower slopes of the Peyrasourde, lose a chunk of time, be dropped, and just roll their way in. So nothing to lose and nothing to worry about. It's not like they have to save themselves, say, oh, I won't sprint too hard because there's a climb coming. There'll be no danger from time limit.
2:25 from the chalkboard, 2:13 courtesy of the GPS tracking with the breakaway and the main peloton. They're on the climb 2 kilometres before they get to the top. Another riders in this breakaway group, currently being led by Ahmed de Ghent, number 193. None of them are a threat to the leader of the King of the Mountains classification, which is the Belgian Tim Wellens.
Well, this one just a Category 4 climb. It's average gradient less than 4%, 2.5 kilometres long. Only 1 point available at the top on the first climb of the day. It was Anthony Perez who went across the top, took the 2 points.
You can see the bandages once again on Alexis Villemos in these hot conditions, 31, 32 degrees, the maximum forecast at the finish line in Toulouse. It would be horribly, horribly uncomfortable. He has said he's struggling to sleep. It's Perez who wants to lead over the top of the climb, and that is more than understandable on local roads. Will he be challenged by Lilian Kalmajan? The stage started in his hometown of Albi. Kalmajan in blue sits and waits and lets Anthony Perez collect. 1 point at the top of the climb.
And the gap heading back out to 2.5 minutes. On the lower slopes, you can see with the body language of the breakaway, they weren't riding as anywhere near as hard as they could. It was if they were almost backing into the peloton, saying, you're going to have to let us go a bit more, otherwise you're going to roll up to our back wheels. The peloton switches off a bit. Now the pace has gone back on in that breakaway group, and very quickly taken almost 30 seconds back again.
Well, the break got caught very early on stage 10 because of the intensity from the peloton with the crosswinds. We are hearing reports that the breeze is picking up a little bit. It was 12 kilometres per hour. It's now moved up to around about 16 kilometres per hour. A big day tomorrow for the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe. He has said he is not letting himself dream about yellow in Paris. He's been enjoying the experience so far. How much longer does he have in that jersey? When he first collected it, Thomas Vauclair, the Frenchman who spent 2 10-day stints in various tours in that yellow jersey, said that he'd hold it until Po, the individual time trial, which is 2 days away.
And I tend to think he's right. I think he will manage to come in to Bagnères de Bigorre with the race favourites on the first Pyrenean stage. If not with them, only just behind. I think whatever he's behind, if he is on that second climb, he'll catch up quite a lot of it on the downhill.
A successful day on stage 10 for the Movistar team. They managed to have Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana in the front group, and that has moved them into the lead of the team's classification. It was a tough day for them though, because they had Mikel Landa, who was in the front group, and I didn't pick it up at the time when we were calling. It was an aerial shot that zoomed in that I saw on replay online only later on, and you could see that he was bumped off the side of the road accidentally by Warren Barguil whilst in the front group.
And this is the town just above where our KOM point is, Castelnau de Montmiral.
It's renowned for its town hall square, Place de la Marie, and Place de la Rose, the Rose Square. It was also a meeting place for pilgrims leaving for Rome or going the other direction in the way of St. James. It was really unfortunate for Movistar and Mikel Landa on stage 10. He was in the group, he made the split, and then Warren Barguil was sitting behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. His front wheel touched the back wheel of Alaphilippe. As a result of that, 1 foot came out for Warren Barguil, just managed to maintain his balance by a hip and shoulder on Mikel Landa. And the next thing that Mikel Landa knew, he was sitting on the ground between a couple of spectators looking down asking the question, are you okay?
Really unfortunate for Landa.
And the gap has gone out to over 3 minutes, so we thought it would slow down for the peloton on this climb. It's slowed down even.
Slowed down for the peloton, and I got the impression the pace was being picked up through to the line of the KOM. The pace was picked up by Perez, and as he came over the top, it was looking like he was maintaining that intensity on the way out of the village. But maybe they're thinking, this is a moment, the peloton's sitting up a bit, we can gain a bit of time on the climb, and now we'll just punch it a bit more and see if we can build ourselves a decent gap that we maybe just a slight chance of defending. But to have any hope at all at the moment, I think they'd need to have about 7 minutes. Richie Porte there on the left-hand side of the picture. Trek Segafredo, one of the losers amongst the GC contenders 2 days ago. But he's still in good spirits, philosophical about it all, and he's just going to keep on trying, really waiting for the race to hit the mountains. And he's always been a good performer in the time trial, so he'll be looking for a good day out on the roads around Paul.
If anything, you would have hoped that the time trial was longer. It's only 27.2 kilometres, but it is a chance for Richie Porte to A, get some time back, B, get some confidence back. A lot of that will depend, though, on what happens tomorrow. Stage 10 was a super tough day for Trek Segafredo. Richie Porte lost 1 minute and 40 seconds on his main rivals, including the defending champion, Geraint Thomas. They lost the lead in the team's classification, and they lost the white jersey with Giulio Ciccone, who was in the third group on the road, so it was a super tough day. Maxime Montfort still on the front for Soudal Lotto. Now they get back on with the business of closing down the gap to the breakaway group of 4.
Well, just in the last 4 or 5 kilometres, the breakaway has taken about 1 minute 10 off the peloton. So now Montfort, Tony Martin, Casper Askerin. They'll be well aware of what's happening up the front, how the time gap grew, and they'll just start to up the tempo just slightly, still feeling like they're in control, guiding their sprinters in towards Toulouse for the expected bunch sprint finish.
Feeling like they're in control because they are in control.
And we've seen them riding with a tailwind over the last 25 kilometres or so. They're just about to turn a little bit more to the right, head south. The wind will be coming in directly from the side. It's a westerly at the moment as they ride to the south, but it's only blowing at 16 kilometres an hour in Gaillac, which is the next bigger village they're about to pass through. So no real danger of a split or anything like that. Won't stop teams getting organised together and just coming further up towards the front, just making sure, because they're all a bit antsy after a couple of days ago, even if the wind is only at 16 kilometres an hour.
And that is exactly what is happening. You can see the shuffling on the right-hand side of the screen. They're through the forest, they're over the hill, all of the Koenig Quick-Step are at the fronts, and then to a slightly more exposed part of the course. Everyone's a bit edgy after the big time losses on stage 10. Total Direct Energy, they have one rider in the breakaway. It's Lilian Calmajan today, the hometown hero. Another rider from that team that was in a break, it was on Bastille Day, and that's Roman Sikar. We caught up with Roma before today's stage got started. Here he is.
I think we can expect a really fast stage today, especially just after the rest day. Usually once everyone's recharged their batteries, they're feeling strong and motivated. On paper it's one for the sprinters, but you can't be sure of anything on the tour. And it's not completely flat. I know this region pretty well. It's bumpy, and the final won't be easy at all. You've got to try to be up towards the front. There's always a slim chance that the break will go all the way, even if it's only a small percentage. We're on the tour and we have an attacking team here at Total Direct Energy, so we have to be up at the front.
Total Direct Energy, they are the only team so far in this year's race without a single rider having a stage result inside the top 10. Their hopes for doing that today, they have one rider in the breakaway, Lilian Calmajan, but their best hope is their Italian sprinter, Nicola Bonifacio. Of age. Quintana has twice been second in the tour. He's been third. He's won the Giro d'Italia. He's won the Volta a España. If Jakob Fuglsang is worth €2 million, if he was, how much does that make Nairo Quintana worth?
Same amount, roughly.
He's done a lot more than Jakob Fuglsang.
Yeah, what's he going to do from now on?
Who's going to do more, Quintana or Fuglsang?
That's the €2 million question.
Indeed it is. Coming towards the intermediate sprint, it's Rossetto on the front, followed by Perez, then Calmajan, De Ghent, Armé De Ghent is at the rear of the group. And this won't be a friendly roll through, 500 metres to go. And it is Rossetto who is doing the lead out for Perez. They are sprinting for the points. They want the honour of winning this intermediate sprint. They'll be convinced internally. They'll be realists. They'll be figuring we won't make it through to the finish line. So let's sprint. And De Ghent is going early, but Perez was ready. Now Perez, he's got a turn of speed. De Ghent still in the slipstream. Perez leading. De Ghent, has he got the legs to get over the top? He's waited. He waited too long. Perez holds him off. De Ghent in second. Calmajan third.
I'm surprised at the turn of speed by Perez. I thought maybe De Ghent would have had him covered. The more muscular looking rider as well, the Belgian, probably had a bit more of a sprint in-house than Perez. He started to come, came out to the side to challenge. It was all too late, and Perez has been a bit greedy. Wins both the climbs and the sprint.
Perez picking up more prizes. Here's one of those roundabouts. There's been a lot of them. Big talking points across the last few days. And 43, now the gap for the breakaway. The peloton starting to wind up the speed here because they are battling for points in the race for the green jersey. 5th place is up for grabs. 5th place at an intermediate sprint. That is still worth 11 points. They go down to 1 point for 15th in these intermediate sprints. Bora Hansgrohe with plenty of numbers at the fronts. Where is the green jersey? He's just poked out of the picture there underneath the kite. 1 kilometre to the sprint. Still Casper Asgreen on the front from the Koenig Quickstep. Richesi is there behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. Geraint Thomas is staying towards the front for Ineos on the left-hand side of the road. The red jersey there, Michael Matthews. How much will he spend on this one? No sign of Caleb Ewan really being involved in the intermediate sprint so far, but he is towards the front today. Might just be having a little bit of a tester, perhaps.
Here's Colbrelli on the right side, Viviani behind Murku on the right. Viviani in the blue. Sagan, he's following his own teammates for this one. He looks to be getting himself a little bit boxed in. And Viviani coming from behind now.
And Sagan through in the green, Colbrelli in the red colours, it's Viviani in blue, Colbrelli on the right-hand side of the picture. He has been full gas for the intermediate sprints. That's a more concerted effort from Sagan, but Viviani gets him. That was a much more intense intermediate sprint than what we've seen so far throughout the tour.
And on a day like today, a flat stage, a big likelihood of a bunched finish, where you just saw Viviani just missed clipping the wheel of his teammate Murku. He leaves him, goes back to the other side, and just managed to find the gap inside Colbrelli. It's over the top easily past Sagan and Colbrelli. I'm a bit surprised to see Viviani putting this much in to the intermediate sprint for 5th place. Maybe just a case of post-rest day,
that's what I was
get things going again.
Exactly what I was thinking. Remember a couple of days ago at the back of the peloton, it was Matteo Trentin before the intermediate sprint that did a sprint or two of his own, didn't get involved in the intermediate sprint, but was just sharpening the legs. There's Caleb, he's right near the front, he's behind the polka dot jersey of Tim Wellens, but he didn't participate in the sprint.
Well, some riders feel like they need that to switch things back on. Viviani reminding his legs just what's expected of them in the final 200 metres this afternoon, where a man like Caleb Ewan might think, oh, I'm fine, I feel good after the rest day. I'll just wait for the real thing. Just spotted Andre Greipel at the front as well on the right-hand side. Celebrated his birthday yesterday. 37.
He'll be a teammate potentially next season with Nairo Quintana. And he could come back to the tour, not contest the intermediate sprints, and still play a really important role.
This is l'Église Saint-Pierre en Gaillac.
In this region of Gaillac, a lot of the economy was driven by when the monks came through and gave them the privileges to plant vineyards and start to grow wine.
This is one of the most scenic towns in the region.
It's the Abbey of Saint-Michel, which is built on top of the former abbey. The former abbey was built around about the 10th century. That got destroyed, twice devastated by Protestants, and was later rebuilt back in 1570 through to 1620. Major restoration works were also undertaken throughout the 1990s to get it back to its former glory. And now, in addition to being the former abbey, it houses the Museum of Popular Arts and Traditions for the region, focusing a lot on the production of wine and sacred arts.
There's not many in the world that will have pulled you up on that one, except for Rigoberto Urán and maybe a few family members.
And when I make mistakes, I get more frustrated at myself than anybody else does. This is Casper Asgreen at the front, the blue colours, followed by Montfort, and then it's Tony Martin, the three that we've seen on the front pretty much all day long, from the moment the breakaway group of four went off the front. As soon as the flag came in, as they departed Albi, destination Toulouse. Astana today They're at the front. Omar Frale protecting Jakob Fulsa. That's where they needed to be on stage 10. But they conceded 1 minute and 40 seconds. He's not out of it, Jakob Fulsa. He's still with a big chance for the podium. It would take a huge performance for him to win the race, but he's still in the battle. Drink time for the King of the Mountains jersey, Tim Wellens. He may well get in the breakaway tomorrow in the battle to defend his lead in the race for the Polka Dots. He has a 6-point advantage over his teammate and his roommate, Thomas de Gent.
Well, we've seen those flags flying in this light breeze, 18 kilometres an hour, and a little update on the direction. It has swung slightly more west-northwest.
There's a shoot, there's a crash, just heard over Race Radar, there's a crash in the peloton. Just a moment's inattention, it can happen so quickly.
Max Schuckman is one of the riders caught behind it. Tom Scully, number 96 as well.
Plenty of pink down at the bottom. Amongst them is Sebastian Langevel. The riders from EF for Education First. Bettiol is there. That's Nicky Terpstra in the blue colours. That is the Dutchman, Nicky Terpstra.
Ties Benoot also caught up in this fall. Ciccone is the man from Trek Segafredo.
Case Bowl, one of the lead-out men from Sunweb, a lead-out rider for Michael Matthews. And Natal Quintana. Natal Quintana, the yellow helmet, the blue colours from Movistar. Trek Segafredo also involved in that fall. Here comes Natal Quintana. 8th position overall, 2 minutes and 4 seconds down. Movistar, they have to send the entire team back. And this is Trek Segafredo.
It's Richie.
It looks like Richie Ports. Ciccone is there for Trek Segafredo. He's the rider that's about to get on his bike. We cross our fingers and hope for Nicky Terpstra. Collarbone. He doesn't look great.
Yeah, feeling at the shoulder blade, the collarbone. They've taken the brunt of the fall onto his shoulder, and they are feeling that scapula on Nicky Terpstra. He's had a horror season.
That's the word. That is the word. It has been a horror season for Nicky Terpstra.
A very nasty concussion sustained at the Tour of Flanders when he fell there and before the finale had started.
That was objective number 1. This was objective number 2. Going through the hoarding indicating Movistar, the leaders of the team's classification. Don't expect to see yellow helmets, blue jerseys at the front of the peloton. They need to go back and collect their leader, the Colombian climber, Natal Quintana.
We should see a safe return of Quintana. There is one of the teammates waiting.
Verona. This is Carlos Verona. He's already had a fall. That was a few days ago. It's not panic stations, but there is a sense of urgency. They've got the team cars to work with. They should be able to return. Here he comes, leading the charge. This is Andre Amador. There is Richie Port. He is 4th in line, the 3rd of the riders from Trek Segafredo. So Trek Segafredo and Movistar will work in unison.
This will be a safe return for those riders. After a crash, it's also not the moment for anyone to go to the front of the peloton and try and increase the pace and take advantage of a situation like this. Some may say, no, that's racing, that's part of it. But they won't.
Jens Kerkeler is here from Soudal Lotto. When Richie is, he just gets a little nudge on the back. That was courtesy of Kundecourt. When Richie crashed last year, Kerkeler was with him.
Richie Port just looks like he's having some bike trouble. I can just sense a skipping of gears. He's looking down at the bike quite often. So maybe someone's run into his bike, possibly bent the derailleur hanger, which prevents the chain from running smoothly.
Terpstra still on the ground. Well, this doesn't do it justice, this graphic, because the gap between the Quintana group and the peloton is 450 metres.
But they could see them, and they were coming back rapidly, so I'm not worried about their chances of coming back, and I think you'll see them. If we could just look through that corner, you would have seen them approaching the back of the peloton. Now, it looks like there's a 23-second gap, but that's front of the peloton. So that peloton is also 15 or 16 seconds long. They're just off the back of it, and they are within the convoy.
They get back, but not ideal before heading into the Pyrenees. No crash is ever ideal. Here they are. This is the group doing the chasing, and the cars coming past is really important in terms of something for them to work with. This is Michael Woods once again at the back. Closing down quickly. The ticket that you see there is the gap closing down to the back of the peloton, 200 metres.
And you just see the difference in intensity as well between the front of the peloton and that chasing group.
Looks like it's switched off at the front.
Well, they're going on one of those little uphills. It's deceiving in this part of the course because you dip down in these little valleys and back up, and this looks nasty.
This is Nizzolo. This is the sprinter. This is Giacomo Nizzolo from Dimension Data. That is an awful way to head into the mountains. It will be a restless night's sleep. They return. Quintana and Paul, they are back in contact with the peloton. It's now time for those teams to assess the damage.
But Giacomo Nizzolo, he was Dimension Data's hope for a high finish, a top 10 on this sprint stage today. So I very much doubt if he'll be amongst it at all. He looked like he'd taken off quite a lot of bark in that fall, and he'll be very sore and sorry.
This is Michael Woods.
Let's hope for Nizzolo it's only superficial. It would be quite amazing to see him make a return to the front of the peloton and be amongst it in the sprint.
No way.
But these cyclists are tough. Don't underestimate.
He is not going to finish in the top 10 on today's stage. I know he is super tough and he is a world-class cyclist, but he's not making it into the top 10 today after that fall.
I'm not going to put money on him finishing the top 10 either, but I won't count anybody out. Because you just don't know what the damage is. Sometimes it looks worse than it is. It's definitely not good.
Let's hope it looks worse than it is.
Oh, yeah.
Let's really hope that is the case for Nizzolo. And of all the sprinters, he's one of the sprinters that gets accused of being too nice. Not often an accusation that's labelled as a sprinter, so we really do hope that Giacomo Nizzolo is okay. Down to a minute now for the breakaway group.
The real chase has now gone out of the peloton, so that chasing done by the teams of the sprinters favoured to win today, that's done. It's not closed yet. Now there's just teams at the front sitting there, position.
Attack, and it comes from De Gent. The reaction then comes very quickly by Calmajan, and Perez, surprisingly, 155 is the first to surrender.
Hand to the leg, was that maybe a cramp? The man who won both KOMs and the intermediate sprint, he's gone, leaving 3 out the front. Now behind, there were teams in position, but nobody willing to continue the chase, do the work on the front, and the gap with this attack is growing. And Amy De Gent, he's got too much horsepower, he's ridden them out of the wheel.
And Rosetto is shaking head, frustrated. He thinks that the motorbikes in front of De Gent have given the Belgian an advantage.
I think what gave him the advantage was just being stronger at this end of the bike race.
Here he is, Armé De Gent. No relation to Thomas, but he has got a good engine.
Passage left on this roundabout coming up.
And he'll be able to take it cleanly. Nobody to negotiate for him. He just needs to get cleanly through that corner. A check across the shoulder. This is Anthony Perez. A long adventure in the breakaway. The first time we've seen him off the front this year.
It's going to be a big squeeze in the peloton to take the shorter side. If you're forced to take the right, it is a much longer way around. You'll lose 40 or 50 positions minimum.
The 10-kilometre arch on his own again, and this is quick.
He's about to hit a nice downhill section as well through the next roundabout. Keep to the left, then the road drops away. It's really steep for a few hundred metres as well.
There's been a fall off on the right-hand side. You saw a spectator move over, and then one of the riders from Sudal Lotto has gone down.
Jasper de Boest.
One of the lead-out riders for Caleb Ewan. Jasper de Boest. There it is on the left, and just behind, Caleb Ewan has come to a grinding halt. Caleb Ewan clips back in. He's still in the peloton. The spectator did not get in the way. The spectator jumped off that little bit of grass as the fall was happening.
De Boest, he's struggling. He got an elbow. It came from more towards the middle of the peloton. It was from Burhan.
No, it was from the rider from CCC, and then
the one to the right of him first.
Yeah, correct. So for Caleb Ewan, he's lost one of his lead-out men. He's lost his position. He's got 10 kilometres to correct it.
He's got a massive amount of work to do because it's hard to move up. Narrow passages, fast downhill, tricky little negotiations of roundabouts as well. And then that 1.2 kilometre uphill onto the outskirts of the centre of Toulouse. He's got his work cut out.
And after all his near misses, what does that do to him psychologically?
He's got to not drop his bundle now. He's got to have this give him some fight.
Get angry.
He's got to be angry about what's just happened. Use it.
There's a bunch of Michael Woods is in this group. Well, Pauls is in that group.
This is not strung out because of crosswind. This is strung out because of those passages through the roundabouts where it narrows, it squeezes in, and it just serves to lengthen the peloton. And some riders just can't hang on anymore.
Lucas Postelberger was also in that group, one of the lead-out riders for Peter Sagan. Not that he really needs any.
This was that very narrow passage, 8 kilometres to go. So a team who's organised to Koenig Quickstep. When are they not? They're in control at the front, and Caleb Ewan has so much work to do to get himself back in front.
He needs Roger Kluger to come back and collect him, give him some at the rear of the group. He's not able to do it. 39 seconds now the gap for Ahmed against Strong.
He has nearly doubled the gap that he had when he took off and left the rest of the group behind, racing in towards Toulouse, famous for its aeronautics. The Airbus factory here as well in Toulouse, out at Blagnac.
This was opened up in June of 1997.
Amy DeCant, 36 seconds still with 7.5 kilometres still, under 7.5 to go. The other breakaways reaching the handout. Good job. Fist bump. It's all over. One man left to catch.
Calmajani in blue, a confidence booster today. Rosetto, his third breakaway. DeGent still defying the chasers. 33 seconds, 7 kilometres. The first time here, 1903. That was in the first ever edition of the race. It was the second stage. There were only 6 stages that year. Stage 2, 450 kilometres.
6 stages, a 3,000 kilometre tour. DeCant now, 6.5k to go, must stay left here. It's much longer around on the right-hand side. Tight, squeeze it in. The more technical, the better.
And these have gone on the wrong side. They've cost themselves significant ground.
In my notes, right side at 6.5 kilometres to go, or 7 for that roundabout where the peloton is. Left side on the next one.
To Koenig Quickstep, not surprisingly, they got it right.
DeCant, he turns right. Stays on this big road now, right through until 2.5 kilometres to go. No more corners on this section, the wind into the face, and he's not far from hitting the bottom of that hill I've been talking about on the way into town.
Wide open road, headwind, it's the kryptonite for a sole breakaway. To Koenig Quickstep, they up the tempo. The yellow jersey, still looking comfortable, Julian Alaphilippe.
Peter Sagan riding in 4th wheel, right up the front behind De Koenig Quickstep. Our sole leader, well, he's lost almost a third of his lead, but he's getting ever closer to the finish.
But the peloton, though, they're strung out. This will be very difficult for Caleb Ewan to return to the front of the race.
It's been so narrow, and with all those roundabouts, it's going to be almost impossible to pass people and get back in position. And the only place left to do it is on a wide open road, that long uphill. It is really going to burn the legs. He's going to have to be on a great day.
He needs Roger Kluger right now to go back and collect him. This is again.
He'll have to do everything at his disposal to get himself back up at the front. They're not far away from hitting those steeper gradients and well organised behind the Koenig Quickstep, the yellow and black colours of Jumbo-Visma for Dylan Groenewegen.
Lots of riders at the back now being distanced. The peloton continues to splinter. None of the contenders for the stage, none of the big favourites for the overall classification. You can see the yellow and black colours being led by Wout van Aert.
I spot Alexander Kristoff through the middle. He'll like this sort of approach, something that takes a little bit of the edge off the sprinters on the run into town. And I was looking for Caleb Ewan and couldn't find him.
Into the headwind to get 5 kilometres, 23 seconds.
DeCant is now on the section where it kicks up a little bit steeper, another 700 metres for him at 4%. It's getting harder and harder. The peloton also under 5 kilometres to go and now under 20 seconds. Jumbo-Visma now at the front.
And there's the yellow helmet, the Olympic champion, the orange colours, Greg Van Avermaet moving forward.
Andre Greipel being brought forward over Warren Barguil. Could this be his best attempt in this Tour de France in the bunch sprints?
He spoke about it before the stage started, Andre Greipel. I don't have a team for the lead out. I just need somebody to take me to the front inside the final 5 kilometres. Great job, Warren Barguil.
Well, DeKent, he is going to be gobbled up. Just 10 seconds left, and they're coming at him doing 2 to his 1. He knows it. Valiant effort by the Belgian Great Ride. Will it result in the bit of combativity and a red number? Only time will tell.
It should.
Well done, DeKent.
It should be a red number for DeKent. The red on the left of Sunweb, trying to position. Is it Case Ball or is it Michael Matthews? Jumbo-Visma riding on a bed of confidence.
Darryl Impey coming round on the right side of the road. He'll be trying to bring Matteo Trent in as well. Still no sign of Caleb Ewan.
Well, Bernard setting the tempo as he did into Chalon-sur-Saône when it was Groenewegen who collected the victory.
It is 100% for Dylan Groenewegen. Wout van Aert, he's got his stage win. Unexpected, he said himself, but he's got it. He's at the service of the team again, and when he did this last time, Groenewegen finished it off.
Roach, his job done. He's going out the back door. Nitzelo won't be sprinting for Dimension Data, but I saw the green helmet at the front of Edvald Bosenhagen.
Daniel Oss, he's up there. He's keeping Peter Sagan out of the wind. Through 4 kilometres to go. Now it's downhill and then flat to the finish. It gets faster and faster on this downhill. Slightly at first, then dips down into the narrow streets of Toulouse, and here comes Sunweb.
I've seen Roger Kluger towards the front for Soudal Lotto.
When
Does he have Caleb Ewan in tow? Yes, he does.
That is Ewan on the right, across the zebra crossing there, just now to the right of the yellow jersey. Back in position. Magnificent effort to get back up. What's he got left for the sprint?
He's got 3.5 kilometres before the finish line. He needs to somehow just compose himself and start all over again. There he is, Caleb. Well done, Roger Kluger.
You need to keep pushing forward now. The road dips away even more, coming towards the 3 kilometre mark. You've got to keep improving position or you'll get swamped from behind.
He looks like he's basing his sprint on Dylan Groenewegen.
He's going to go up and fight for that wheel. The other side of the road was De Koning Quickstep. Julian Alaphilippe brings them in position. Swings away to find some safety.
Ewan tracking Groenewegen.
A lot of yellow
hopefully
and black.
release the magnets.
Daniel Oss is there supporting the green jersey of Peter Sagan. Sonny Colbrelli the long way around in the red colours of Bahrain Marina.
They're now onto the flat. They're in the city streets of Toulouse. The road will start to swing around to the right, which will bring them to the last real corner of this stage.
And look who's still on the front.
Most of them used to stick
Ewan slots
down
in
the
behind Groenewegen. He's the third rider in yellow. Ewan right on his wheel. Sagan to his right-hand side in green.
And Katusha now come to the front. This is Alex Dowson who leads him through the corner. Jens de Buscher, just maybe.
Lining up well now for Caleb Ewan at the moment, riding the train of Jumbo-Visma. Big turn on the front for Katusha. So, de Buscher is in position. He is behind Ewan and Sagan, the Katusha rider. Daniel Oss will be the next to take over. And then it's the yellow and black train. 4-stage wins so far, going for number 5. Caleb Ewan, he's been so close in this tour. Can it be today?
And on the right-hand side in the red colours, Maciej Mohoric, the left as we look at it, the gold in the helmet. He's positioning Sonny Colbrelli, and the fight is on for the wheel of Peter Sagan.
Caleb Ewan has got himself smoothly into the wheel of Groenewegen. Where is De Koning? They're coming on the left. Riccizi has Viviani with him. Work to do, but a wide open road, plenty of room to move. Murku comes through. Quickstep are aiming to take over through the 1.5 kilometres to go.
And basing his sprint on the blue of Viviani is Jasper Sturven of Trek Segafredo.
Murku comes through and he moves Janssen off the wheel. He got shelter. Viviani, he's behind Riccizi, who is bashing away at Caleb Ewan.
And Michael Matthews is doing the lead out for Case Bowl.
So it's true to his word, like he said earlier. They come under the kilometre to go. Here is the overhead. Groenewegen, the big jump, and he came out of the wheel of Turnison. Ewan, he swings across, he leaves the gap, track style. Viviani, he's also trying to lay off. Now it comes, the acceleration from the Australian. He draws up alongside. This is all on fight and all on heart, and he's there. Caleb Ewan, debut stage win in the Tour de France.
It's a reverse of stage 7. It's the narrowest of margins, but it's gone Caleb Ewan's way this time.
Yeah, that's like a 60-metre gap on the wheel there.
He had so much go wrong, and he made everything right.
It's literally like the width of his tyre.
The difference? Wanting it. So much desire.
Look at the joy, the relief. You can see the adrenaline.
He so much left to do. He was behind Jasper de Boest, who went off the road. At around 10 kilometres to go, Ewan stopped, clipped out, and for a moment, it was like he dropped his bundle. He didn't go immediately. He has fought so hard to come back from a lost position. Brilliant!
He picked his bundle up quickly. Michael Matthews congratulates him.
They're great mates, they're training partners. That is genuine delight from his mate.
Starts to sink in.
As he got confirmation, it wasn't a monkey that fell off his back. It was a family of gorillas.
All the descendants of Andre Greipel, as that's the man he's replaced at Soudal Lotto. There was a lot of pressure. They were big shoes to fill.
They were. He's been battling so hard. He's been so consistent. Twice third, twice second. This was all that was missing off his palmarès.
He's looking for a teammate here.
Another teammate behind him.
Jens Kerkeler. They were teammates together at Mitchelton Scott as well.
The Belgian team, they pick up their second stage victory. Thomas again in Saint Etienne, and now Caleb Ewan in Toulouse.
In front of the peloton, as we see at the back of the peloton, number 31, Romain Bardet, being supported back into the group by number 36, that is Alexis Goujard. 33 is the former under-23 world champion, that is Benoit Cosnefroy. And Bardet is leading at the moment because he wants to position directly behind those team cars where there is a bigger wind break. He doesn't look at ease. He hasn't looked at ease at all throughout this year's race, Romain Bardet.
He almost never looks at ease, even when he's going well. He's a bit all over the bike. He's a bit ragged. And it partly is, I think, behind his lack of ability in the time trial. He's not very solid on the bike. I actually wonder, compared to some of the riders we talk about and say, look how still and how solid and controlled they are on the bike. Romain Bardet is really opposite. I wonder if he does much of that core training, the core strength exercises, which is what really keeps you so stable on the bike and makes you more powerful. I liken it to having a big engine in a car, but only secured by one engine mount if you don't do the core exercises.
I'm sure that he does, because he is really meticulous in his preparation. But does he do enough is the question.
And then some guys just have their individual style, and it's
Chris Froome is effective.
Harder, impossible to adjust. Chris Froome also is not picture perfect on the bike. He's not attractive to look at style-wise on the bike, but it is effective.
But I'm sure he does everything right. You don't get the results Chris Froome has had, a 7-time winner of Grand Tours, without doing everything right on and off the bike.
Yeah, it's not a beauty competition.
No. It's a competition to try and win. Well, it's 2:15 here local time, so let's now turn our attention to our daily awards, starting with the hashtag Tour Media Medal. And as Robbie, as you reminded us yesterday, for those that haven't been following and just catching up with the tour, each day we try and give votes 3, 2 and 1 for the quotes from riders in particular, sometimes team management, that catch our attention and create a talking point. At the moment, at the top of the table, is Geraint Thomas and George Bennett on 8 points, Alex Dowsett and Dylan Groenewegen in second position on 5. There's a bunch of riders laying up below them. Today, Robbie, before we get into the votes, we've got an honourable mention for the first time ever from Nairo Quintana. In his 10 years in the professional peloton, he's barely said anything to really catch our attention.
Sometimes you say about someone, oh, he's a man of few words. With Nairo, you wouldn't be far off by saying he's a man of no words.
Yes, he's a man of no words at all. This breakaway group is just splitting a little bit under the pressure at the front. Lots of riders going back to the team cars, yet they're only a matter of 6 kilometres away from the feed zone. So Nairo Quintana, getting to the finish line yesterday after his crash, he said to the journalists, don't make too big a deal of it. They'll only get worried back home.
So just thinking about the family, the friends, the fans back in Colombia, they don't want a big story made of his crash because they'll just worry.
I really quite like that. This is Romain Bardet. He's twice been on the podium. He's been second, he's been third, he's got a few teammates with him. It's really quick at this point.
Now, we've spoken in the past of someone who speaks about themselves in the third person in glowing terms. We call them the third person self-congratulator. The 1 point is not far off that. And he's also, I've got to hand to him, he's not far off the mark either. It's being honest. I don't think he's overstating it, but it's really approaching that third-person self-congratulator status, but let's have it.
It's right up there. So if those of you that listen to Off the Bench in Melbourne on SEN, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. George Bennett, the Kiwi from Jumbo-Visma. It's a luxury position for a team to have a guy like me here as a helper. Little pat in the back for George Bennett from George Bennett. One vote.
He's still got to prove that point because he's here to help in the mountains for Stephen Kerrsvik. George, he was recorded in an interview saying yesterday, the day before, yeah, I am here to help. I'm going to get my own chance in the Tour of Spain in September, which I'm really looking forward to. But here I am, a helper, and they're lucky to have me.
So George Bennett now moves to the lead. He's on 9 points ahead of Geraint Thomas, who's on 8. 2 votes today, 2 points. Julian Alaphilippe, the race leader, and this moves him up to 4th place. I can't wait for the Pyrenees. I don't have a plan. Anything can happen. I've been talking about it so much, I'm starting to lose my voice. But I promise you, I haven't been out clubbing.
He's always got a quip, Julian Alaphilippe.
It also tells us about his reputation.
He's a man who loves a good time, and I'm sure he'll celebrate this Tour de France and his achievements in it with all his heart. Everything he's got left by the time he gets to Paris.
He is pretty good after dark by all reports, Julian Alaphilippe, as Romain Bardet, number 31, returns to the rear end of the peloton. But 3 votes today goes to the rider in the breakaway yesterday, Stefan Rossetto, who was really frustrated with his breakaway companion, Armé de Ghent. And he said after the stage, and it was a long interview with Rossetto, for a breakaway to work, everyone has to pull their weight. Lillian was honest, Anthony was honest, but the Belgian guy, forget it. At one point he said, now we go all out. And he just carried on riding like before. And then he screwed us in the end to grab the red bib. Guys like that, they do my head in. You can't go all the way with a guy like that in the breakaway. You have to be on the same wavelength, right as a team. It really pees me off. So 3 votes for Stefan Rossetto for saying exactly what he thought about Armé de Ghent.
He said what he thought, and I don't really agree with him.
With the red number, Armé de Ghent. And another one of the riders from the breakaway, Lilian Kalmajan, he didn't really agree with Rossetto either, but he felt like he had to say, I can't understand what you're saying, but it's part of racing.
That is racing, and at the end of the day, Armé de Ghent was the man who just had the most left in the tank. He was strong enough to make the attack, and they got right back to a metre or so behind his wheel and then couldn't hang on. He just rode them out of the wheel. Now, Rossetto saying that he did less throughout the day.
So what?
Everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah. I thought it was entertaining though. So 1 for George Bennett for his little slap on the back for himself. 2 for Julian Alaphilippe, just letting everybody know that he hasn't been out clubbing, well aware of his reputation. And 3 for Stefan Rossetto for trying to give it both barrels to Armé de Ghent, who actually has the last laugh because he did go onto the podium and collect the red number. 4 minutes and 35 seconds now the advantage for the breakaway. They have upped the ante. They're approaching the feed zone, then into Bagnères de Luchon for the intermediate sprint, then on to the climb of the Col de Peyresourde. Good to see Tony Galopin in the breakaway today. He crashed at the French National Championships a week before the start of the Tour de France. This is an attack off the front, leading into Bagnères de Luchon. Not a straightforward sprint. Bora Hansgrohe doing the chasing, protecting the green jersey of Peter Sagan. A good opportunity for Peter Sagan to collect maximum points. 20 points at the intermediate sprint. 1 kilometre to go to Bagnères de Luchon.
And the attacks are on, trying to get the green jersey points. This is now the lead out. That's Daniel Oss for Peter Sagan, Colbrelli in his wheel, and it's Alexander Kristoff.
Sturven in 4th position. The rider that attacked was Roger Kluger. It's a long lead out, this for Daniel Oss. He had to chase Roger Kluger. That was from the 1,300 metre mark. Underneath the kite, Sagan waits patiently. Colbrelli has been all in for these intermediate sprints, 56 kilometres per hour.
I'm picking Alexander Kristoff, the man in 4th position in white, to go long. All these riders will consider their day done once they get through this point, pretty much. Sagan lays off, gives himself a gap to run to the wheel of Daniel Oss, closely looking at the others, couple hundred metres to go, up out of the seat, goes for it.
And this is an all-in sprint by Peter Sagan, vastly different to any of the other intermediate sprints. Colbrelli doesn't have the legs, nor Kristoff, nor Stuyven. Totally different to any intermediate sprint we've seen so far for Peter Sagan. That one wasn't for placings. That one was for the win.
That was for the full points, and that gives us an indication of what his thoughts are for the rest of the stage. This will do me. That was my finish line for today. Alexander Kristoff, he just found the pace too high to go for a long one, up to the 60k an hour mark, and Peter Sagan rode it perfectly. Shades of Caleb Ewan yesterday, laying off the wheel, sprinting into the slipstream, getting the big slingshot, and then just outpowering Colbrelli all the way to the line.
A little bit of cold trickle, days of thunder. This is Sonny Colbrelli from Bahrain Maritas. They head into the thermal town of Bagnères de Luchon. Even back in the Roman times here, they made the most of the thermals, and then since around about the mid-1700s, it's played a huge part of attracting tourists to the town. It is a beautiful little city. We've had a few stopovers, including the rest day last year, and Robbie, you made the mistake. You missed out on a really good game of golf.
I did.
I'll be the first to confess, I'm terrible at golf, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I chose to ride last year. This time, when we get the opportunity, I'm going to go and have a swing. I'm feeling really rusty, which is not so different to my normal game. And it looks like the next opportunity for us is up on the Tourmalet at La Mongie.
This golf course.
Golf at altitude.
At 2,000 metres.
Yes.
That might enable me to hit the ball further.
Further sideways. That's what it'll do for me. Here we are at the back of the peloton, number 84, Dylan Groenewegen.
And that's the important number, 1.4 kilometres to the start of the Col de Peyresourde. And Kristoff and Sagan, the first riders to hit the base of the climb. 13.2 kilometres with an average gradient of 7%. This is Calamajan now, who's bridged across to Sonny Colbrelli, so he's done more than find his confidence yesterday by going into the breakaway. He's found, maybe not his legs of old, but he's getting close to them.
They're on that little section on the lower slopes of the Peyresourde where you can just build a little bit of momentum. Now on the official start of the climb, 13 kilometres to the summit.
Lars back at the rear, number 2, oh no, he's 202 a little bit further forward. 203 is Steve Cummings. Janssen, the Norwegian national champion. Colbrelli and Calamajan, they're moving well on the lower slopes. This is Edvald Bosenhagen. This is the back of, not the peloton, this is the back of the main breakaway group. It's so big, a couple of times I've looked at it and I thought, is this the peloton or the break?
It's 25% of the peloton that took off this morning.
40 riders in the breakaway. Sunweb now doing the chasing. And the man they're working for is Michael Matthews.
Or Nico Roche.
Nico Roche.
Both.
Nicholas Roche has the better track record in the mountains. But Michael Matthews, I think he fancies himself today.
It's trying to get Matthews there, but they've got to give Nico Roche the freedom to follow the attacks that are going to come inevitably. They're going to be attacks by the likes of Dylan Teuns. For example, Simon Yates, he's not going to hang around to take Michael Matthews with an easy ride over the climbs to the finish. So there'll be attacks. Roche has got to follow them. And then, tactically, he can just stay behind and say, no, I'm riding for Michael Matthews, so I'm not going to contribute, i.e. give me a free ride through to the finish.
Max Recchesi still at the front in the white colours, the Argentinian national champion. De Koenig Quickstep has shown the signs of a team that are hoping that the men in red and black Ineos now come to the front and take control.
What's that 210 now?
We're waving goodbye to the fast men of the Koenig Quickstep, the lead-out train. And now it's going to be Casper Asgreen who comes to the front. I sit there, make sure everyone's comfortable, fed, hydrated, and in a position at the front for the descent after the climb. They'll be reluctant to do any pacemaking.
In terms of that breakaway, Greg Van Avermaet is the best placed overall at 14 minutes and 20 to take 30 minutes today and move into the yellow jersey by 15. I'm confident that he would still be beaten for yellow in Paris.
He'd still be out of the yellow jersey before we leave the Pyrenees.
Yeah. So there's no major threat in that group. Simon Yates is in the breakaway for Mitchelton Scott, and he was a winner last year at the Volta a España. So you would normally think, yeah, he could be a threat. But he's lost so much time already, he's more than 1 hour behind. Colbrelli is now being distanced by Lilian Calmejean. On French television, Thomas Vauclair, he went to the Bahrain Merida team car to ask what has happened with Rowan Dennis, and the Bahrain Merida team car said, we're not exactly sure. He stopped for a nature break, and then he's out of the race. So perhaps some of the gastro that's gone through the rest of the peloton might have struck Rowan Dennis down.
From those indicators, you'd think that must have happened. And it hits you so fast, and you get violently ill when it does hit you. Much like a sprinter hitting a Category 1 climb, gastroenteritis stops you in your tracks.
Such as Dylan Groenewegen and Alexander Kristoff being dropped from this group.
So we'll wait on confirmation from the team and from the team doctor. A huge blow for the team, a massive blow for Rowan Dennis, who was favourite to win the time trial tomorrow. And, of course, for all Australian cycling fans tuning in, hoping to witness another Aussie stage win after that of Caleb Ewan yesterday, who had their hopes pinned on Rowan Dennis.
We've sung the praises of the Argentinian national champion in white, Max Ricchesi, on virtually every flat sprinter stage. We sing them as well today on a day in the Pyrenees. He has done an enormous amount of work on the front. He has been at the front of the peloton for 100 kilometres.
And now that he's gone from the front of the peloton, that's less good news for the breakaway. And I'm guessing it'll be Casper Asgreen who'll be riding on the front. He was there just behind Ricchesi. I saw him coming up to the front as we hit the foot of this climb.
That's what I want to see this year's tour. If that happens, the 106th edition of the race has been a roaring success.
Well, the cow farmer from Michelbeke in Brakel in Belgium is very attached to those beasts.
This is Calmejean from Total Direct Energy.
Up every morning, 4 a.m. for milking before he gets out on the road.
This is Tom Scully, has spent the day in the breakaway, working in support of his two teammates in that move, Simon Clark and Alberto Bettiol. You know this climb, take us up it from the peloton, tête de course with Lilian Calmejean, and then the top of the climb, and I'm interested in the descent.
The descent is actually really quite nice, fairly straightforward. It is very fast, but nice smooth roads. On the way up, the midsection of the climb is a little bit bumpier, very open. You can, on a clear day, see all the way to the top from quite low down in the valley already. If you're a fast man struggling and hoping to survive, you don't want to be looking up and seeing the top of the climb. You just got to keep plugging away. But for the pure climbers, this being a Category 1 climb, for those guys, it's not too difficult, especially at this pace. They find this probably even less than a training ride. They would train harder than this when they're out on a training camp in the mountains, so this really not troubling any of the decent climbers in the peloton.
Lilian Calmejean now out to 43-second advantage in front of his former breakaway companions, which includes Tim Wellens in the polka dot jersey, leader of the King of the Mountains classification. Peter Sagan is already 1:24 behind, but Peter Sagan is not paying any attention to the front of the race, nor the back of the race. He's just riding to his own effort to try and measure how much he exerts before then getting through the finish line. Then he has tomorrow an individual time trial, which won't be difficult for Peter Sagan, and then we'll see him hunting stage victories once again.
Calmajan and Colbrelli, they have now doubled their gap over the chasing group. 43 seconds they have on the rest of the breakaway. And another group of drop riders with Peter Sagan, a minute and a half behind our leader, Lilian Calmajan. So Colbrelli is gone, in fact. Calmajan is now on his own. And would he be ruining the fact that he was in the breakaway yesterday? It'd have to be.
In some respects, yes, but it has given him a fresh air of confidence.
Maybe so, but it's cost him a whole lot of energy. Now he's in a position where it's a real chance of winning the stage. Yesterday was unrealistic. They were never going to hold off the sprinters' teams. So it was
futile.
Absolutely futile. I was looking for the right word. I was going to say a waste of time. I thought that was a bit harsh. Futile. Same thing, more eloquent.
Jesper Sturven still in the breakaway from Trek Segafredo. The Astana rider at the back, that was Bilbao. 1 kilometre to the top for the chasing group behind Lilian Calmajan. No sign of movement from Tim Wellens. I suspect Wellens, he's in second position. He's got his teammate just in front of him, Tish Benoot. Second place at the top of this climb would be fine. The big objective, surely, for Benoot and Wellens has to be the stage win.
Yeah, well, Wellens' real objective, his first and foremost objective, is get as many points as possible. So I guess just seeing if they can, without too much effort, of course it's going to cost some, but without too much, peg back Calmajan, get maximum points, then start thinking about the stage win.
If you were the sports director at Soudal Lotto, what would you make the priority? KOM points or the stage victory?
At the moment, I would say, Tish, just increase the tempo just a little bit. On a climb like this, it's not like they're really slipstreaming off him, so everybody has to increase their own tempo. Might even offload a couple that were thinking, I'm going to get over all of this and contest the stage win. But it's not going to hurt Tish Benoot more than anybody else in the group, really. The only one possibly is Tim Wellens, if he decides to jump out of the group to then just try and nip Calmajan before they get to the KOM.
And from 30 seconds, it's quickly gone down to 19 seconds. So Tish Benoot has upped the tempo. And it's stringing this group out. Matteo Trentin is still there. The gold helmet for Greg Van Avermaet.
He's still there. So is Rui Costa, Oliver Narsson, Simon Yates in the yellow helmet. Michael Matthews behind him.
That is Dylan Torrens in the red colours of Bahrain Merida. Number 15, that's Gregor Mühlberger, Austrian climber from Bora Hansgrohe. It's down to 15 seconds. Wellens might jump out of the group to try and poach the maximum points. 10 points at the top of this climb for the polka dot jersey.
And they look like they're on that final straight stretch now towards the top. There's the bidon from the soigneur of his team. Only 150 metres or so to the top of the climb.
Check across the shoulder. He wants to make sure that he at least gets the prize at the top of this climb, Lilian Calmajan. 12 seconds. It's closing down quickly. He's keeping an eagle eye on what no doubt will be Tim Wellens.
He will see them coming.
He's spending more time looking over his shoulder than looking forward. And here comes Wellens. One last-ditched effort to get him at the top of the climb. Calmajan now accelerates. Wellens has got the momentum. And Wellens gets there. Extraordinary. Timing is everything. Wellens collects 10 points.
Calmajan too cheeky. He was looking, saw them coming. He thought, but I'll just be able to hold you off. Wellens had that little bit left, that little bit extra. Serge Pauls is the man who went with Wellens in the wheel, and Paul says, flick of the shoulder and the whole side of his body. Simon Clark says, I'll have a piece of that, I'll come along.
He wants to go on with it. Serge Pauls, Tim Wellens, good riders to keep company with, and now Calmajan finds himself in the middle. This is not dissimilar to the move from Chris Froome over the top of the Périgueux a few years ago. The stage victory. Clark is going long range.
It's the intelligent sort of riding I expect from Simon Clark. He's a great tactician. He's realised who else is in the group, the likes of Simon Yates. Simon Clark's not going to wait to the next climb just to try to see if he can hang on to Yates. He's going to anticipate. He's going to make them chase him.
And he knows the quality of Yates well. They were teammates only briefly together at the Mitchelton Scott team, and Simon Clark, if he's got something to his advantage, it is bike IQ. And this is an attack that doesn't waste any energy. He can just see how it evolves. He would like Tim Wellens and Serge Poles, though, to still be with him.
Yeah, he would be feeling that they are guys he can match on the next climb and out-sprint at the finish eventually. In Bagnères de Bigorre, Simon Clark getting down, getting aero, and the gap is opening up.
He was in the breakaway into Briot. He got caught out tactically, much to my surprise, when it was Daryl Impey who went on to win the stage. That is a significant hike.
Well, if the riders in the Tour de France think they've done some climbing today, they're just got to try and take a peek up through maybe a little hole in the clouds and see who the real climbers are on this day.
Perfect road surface.
Yeah, brand new. That's the great thing about riding on any part of the Tour de France parcours. Wherever you go, you're bound to come on some brand new road. Silky smooth, it's beautiful.
The yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, has been well protected all day by De Koning Quickstep. He now integrates in with Ineos and he slips in front of last year's overall winner.
Little hand signal. I'm in.
And Geraint Thomas will be comfortable to have somebody with the bike handling skills of Julian Alaphilippe in front of him on the topic of bike handling skills.
Now, Peter Sagan is well off the back. But it's worth filming him just because you might see something special. They love to follow him on descents when he's at the head of the race. So they thought, well, we've got a spare camera. Let's have a look at him anyway.
Have you seen anybody better going downhill?
I think one of the guys that I can remember that I raced with over the last 25 years, Paolo Savoldelli, the Italian. His nickname was Il Falco, the Falcon, because they're renowned as the fastest animal on earth, because when they dive, it's hundreds of kilometres an hour. He was incredible to watch.
He won the Giro d'Italia through his descending ability, almost as much as his climbing. This lake, isn't it stunning? That sits at just under 3,000 metres in altitude.
Savoldelli, not only his descending speed, but his technique. It had me on the edge of my seat watching him sometimes in the Giro d'Italia in the Dolomites. He's up there with anyone I've ever seen.
That is huge praise. This is a good landing or takeoff strip. Race radio telling us that Simon Clark is out to 30 seconds.
35, in fact, 35 seconds. 35 seconds coming over race radio.
Peter Sagan is almost caught by the peloton. Clark is back out to more than 6 minutes ahead of the yellow jersey group of Julian Alaphilippe. This is Lilian Calmejane in the blue colours, who was off the front until the very top of the climb, and he was passed by two riders and finished in third place at the top of the Col de Peyrasourde. Sagan now with his faithful teammate Daniel Oss.
Well, they are really just waiting for the peloton to pick them up. Only 43 seconds in front of it, but just enjoying themselves on the downhill. All that road, no riders around them, letting it flow. Not just the hair of Daniel Oss, getting their flow on. In fact, they're more likely to ride further away from the peloton on this descent, even though they're happy to drop back.
And then through that short valley road, they'll just cruise along before then being caught by the peloton and dropped on the next climb. This is Michael Merkur, who was in the break today. He's now on the front for De Koning Quickstep, for the yellow jersey, looking after Julian Alaphilippe.
And just making sure the pace stays on enough. We know Ineos, their tactic is to get to the front, be in control, and go nice and slow and easy to not put their leaders under any pressure, like Geraint Thomas. De Koning Quickstep don't want that. Keep the pace just a little higher to keep the break in check.
And he broke away then with Jakob Fuglsang. Still 26 riders in that group chasing Simon Clark, which indicates there's plenty of horsepower and firepower left back there. They have not gone full throttle by a long stretch of the imagination.
No, they haven't. The good news for Simon Clark is that there are 26 in that group, so there's still some passengers, not everybody contributing. And I think that's why we've also seen that gap grow. Simon Clark riding as hard as he can, pure time trial tempo. But in the back, others are doing turns on the front, but nobody really willing to give it even 85% effort on the front of the group.
This is the chasing group at 1 minute and 30 seconds behind Simon Clark. This is the chase that they have in front of them. It seems so easy on the motorbike. This is a reaction coming though. There's been a counter-attack. It's Matteo Trentin, the European champion from Mitchelton Scott, launched the counter-offensive to try and go across to Clark.
Either to go across to Clark or leave the rest of the group, get up the road a little bit, provide a springboard for Simon Yates. Get up there with a gap. Yates go out of the group behind, come across, and for as long as he possibly can, Trentin would then set the pace, because the intensity that Simon Yates can ride at that speed, really, there's the slipstreaming effect, just ever so slightly. It's a marginal gain, but it's what they'll be thinking of.
And Simon Yates, at his best, is one of the very best. Last year he won the Tour of Spain. He's not at his absolute best here. He's riding a support role for Adam Yates. But you get the real clear sense that Mitchelton Scott, they don't think is a crucial day in the race for that final yellow jersey. They're aiming for stage victories. The climb starts 9.9 kilometres before the descent then begins down to the finish line.
Average gradient 7.5%, but this first 4 kilometres is the hardest. First kilometre 8.5%, through 9% the next kilometre, 9.5 average the next kilometre after that. A very tough start to this climb.
Trentin, he makes the right-hand turn. Underneath the sponsor hoarding indicating that Mobistar are the leaders of the team's classification. Trek Segafredo are in second, followed by Bora Hansgrohe. Trentin can see the motorbikes just around the corner, but they've still got a fair gap on Simon Clark.
He's a minute and 10 behind Simon Clark. That will put him around 350 to 400 metres behind Clark on the road, maybe even closer to 300.
And we see the flags of the Basque country, as we always do in the Pyrenees, and they have some hope in the breakaway with the Peo Bilbao. He's the rider in the turquoise colours of Astana. That's the start of the climb now for Matteo Trentin.
Well, if Simon Yates isn't at or near his best, Peo Bilbao has got to be the favourite in this group. And Dylan Turns, he's riding with that relaxed feeling of having won a stage already.
Saw the graphic on the side of the screen down at the bottom right-hand corner, indicating the time bonuses at the top. Michael Matthews is all in for Nico Roche, as Tim Wellens, the king of the mountains jersey, is all in for Tim Wellens. He is still in this group. Benoot is still in this group as well for Soudal Lotto.
So Wellens, he took the KOM points, made a big effort to get them. Gis Benoot further back here in the red sleeves with the white body behind Greg van Avermaet, Jasper Stuyven, then Narsen, plenty of Belgians in this group, more classic riders as well. And I would expect them to be offloaded when the real climbers of this group start to light it up.
And we've just missed him in yellow. If the cameraman turned to his right, is Mike Turnison, who's just been dropped. Successful day for Mike Turnison.
The time gap to Trentin for Simon Clark, 55 seconds. So he's taken about 25 seconds off him really quickly with that acceleration. Now on the steep slopes, he may also start to pay for that effort. I'm sure he is waiting for the arrival of Simon Yates.
And I'm of the view that Simon Clark is a superior climber to Matteo Trentin.
Same.
Incidentally, the Dutch network, NOS, have just posted a photo of Rowan Dennis's bike parked at the finish line out the front of the Bahrain Merida team bus. So that story continues to develop with intrigue. It was just slipping off the back. That was a weight, that was a not being dropped. Stage win already in this race for number 84. That's Dylan Groenewegen. They take over at the front. This is what the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, was waiting for. The attack now coming. This is Matthias Frank from AG to Arle Mondial as Mühlberger responds.
This is on the steep slopes within the first 4 kilometres of this Category 1 climb of the Orcat en 6 ans. Nico Roche, but the better climbers are starting to go up the road. Still no movement from Peo Bilbao or Simon Yates.
And there he is, 194. Iking has collected one. Good teamwork by one of the smaller teams in the race. And Guillaume Martin is racing for the general classification. He's 25th almost 6 minutes behind. Fabulous news about yesterday's stage winner, Caleb Ewan. The flowing locks of Daniel Oss. Big day in the breakaway, and now they've got one of their Mühlberger. He was second on a stage at the Dauphiné behind the current yellow jersey, Alaphilippe.
The Basque Farms in the Pyrenees is one of the best parts of the Tour de France. There are some Basque riders in the peloton. Of course, they're cheering for them, but they cheer for everyone.
Mühlberger, followed then by Frank.
And the gap opening up, and these two on the hunt.
And Luke won't mind me saying this, if he's still on the front, the tempo isn't super high.
My next comment was going to be, the break will win.
We did hear rumours at the start of the stage about Nibali having a stomach bug.
Stay tuned on the official word on Rowan Dennis. We haven't heard anything other than someone vaguely say he seems to be okay. Around at some stage in this tour, he can make it into a breakaway move and maybe win himself and his team a stage.
The four riders out in front as the reaction is coming from Nico Roche, followed then by Simon Yates. Clark, Trentin, Frank and Mühlberger. Of those four, Trentin would be the quickest in a sprint finish if it came down to that. So Clark is really paying the price for that effort along the Valley Road, and that is blunting his climbing ability. This is Yates.
Simon Yates still needs to get rid of a lot of riders on this climb. One he's just about to catch, that's Mühlberger. He's not slow at the finish. When it comes to riders of this type, the climbers, he needs to offload.
Ineos in complete control of the peloton.
Getting into the rhythm.
This is the sort of day that's so much easier to control than a flat stage that is meant to be for the sprinters.
They train a lot harder than this as a group when they're riding in the mountains. Look at the face of Nico Roche, the tongue out, the grimace, baring the teeth. Galopin.
Yes, trying to come across from AG to Le Mondial. He's got his teammate, Matthias Frank, in this group.
And Mühlberger has gone again after being caught. Surprise, surprise.
Followed by Roche, then Frank, then it is Galopin, and you can see the turquoise colours of Pello Bilbao, the rider from the Basque Country in the Astana team.
It's a surprise for me that he hasn't followed the move of Simon Yates.
13 seconds, the gap. Trentin closing in really quickly on Clark. This is Mühlberger.
Maybe Simon Yates just took the pace off, rest and recharge, go again. That's the thing that really good climbers can do. If they can get onto the descent, they're a huge chance to stay away because Simon Yates, who at the moment is still on the front.
And Shankman and Bilbao are coming across to the group with Yates.
That is a bit of a surprise. He's on the radio. I'd love to be able to eavesdrop. The face
Clark
doesn't look happy. Clark is dropped. Trentin pushes on. The gap only small. 17 seconds over the group containing his teammate, Simon Yates, Pello Bilbao. All men that Trentin can easily handle in a sprint.
Who to fear from that group? Clark is sticking to his own rhythm because he fears being dropped by some of the superior climbers amongst his train. Then here goes Bilbao.
This is Serge Pauls. He is coming back to the front group.
Clark has now been caught by Bilbao and Galopin. It'll be difficult for Clark to up the rhythm once again with all the energy he spent on his own through the Valley Road.
Behind Trentin, it's Bilbao. Then it's Mühlberger, Nico Roche. They've passed Simon Clark. Now Simon Yates far in the background. He was making acceleration to come across to that group as well. Galopin second last man.
He has to stay at that same rhythm. The pink colours of Clark going backwards. Yates is now attacking. He's trying to loop across and get onto the back wheel of Trentin. And And if he gets there, surely Trenton has to go
straight up and over, put them under so much pressure. He's got everyone in the red to blow them up. He's still got 30 kilometres to go.
It's been a good tour so far for Mitchelton. Got his Clark suffering now at the back, trying to stick with Sergio Piles, the man in orange.
Nonetheless, a great, I think, exactly what he needed to do.
He needed someone with him. That's Franck who goes through to the front for AG2R Le Mondial.
They've got to just drive the pace and try and go straight across. Hope that Nico Roche contributes with them, because it's going to be Schachmann and Trentin sitting on getting a free ride. This is now turning out to be ideal for Matteo Trentin. Free ride and sharpen up those sprinting legs. A man who's been top 10 in the bunch sprints so far, getting over the top almost of 2 Category 1s and putting himself in contention for a stage win.
Psychologically, how good a move is this? And just letting Simon Yates know, I've got your measure.
Yep, got you covered. I'm happy to do a few turns. When Yates made another acceleration, Bilbao just stayed steady state, but I'll ride my way back on by the top.
Day today, he collected 10 points at the top of the Col de Peyrasourde.
No points at the top of this climb, but it's been a good day out for the man in the polka dot jersey from the Soudal Lotto team. And they are just having a fantastic Tour de France. The peloton, they've lost about a minute so far on this climb due to the pace going up by Simon Yates and Gregor Mühlberger. That's of no concern. They're not worried about anybody out of this breakaway group that started with 40. It's now down to 2 in front.
And all the pass flags on the side, the red, the white and the green, they'll be yelling the loudest for the man in the Astana colours. There he is, third on the road.
40 seconds to the chasing group, with the teammate of Simon Yates, Matteo Trentin, far and away the fastest man in the group. Say, if you want it, you tow me all the way to the line, and then I'll see if I can maybe get you measure.
Dauphiné, when he finished in second position, behind Julian Alaphilippe, he made the mistake of leading out from too far. He was afraid of being caught from behind. Almost over the top. It's Yates who leads. The King of the Mountains points, their insignificance. The Hawkette de Ancien, that has been scaled for Yates and Mühlberger. A little nervous on the way down. The risk being taken by Bilbao. Trentin.
Yes, I think he's the only one.
But he probably shouldn't, because he's got Yates out in front.
Follow the second best in the group. If the gap then opens, hit over low. See if he can catch it, not dragging it.
One risk at a time.
Mühlberger in a very good position, looking for the stage win. He's had the support all day long of Oss and Peter Sagan setting the pace in the breakaway.
It must be confidence building for Mühlberger, the young Austrian, to have Peter Sagan work for you throughout the day.
It is, and it'll also be confidence building. The ride he did in Dauphiné.
It was a genuine photo finish. There was nothing in it. Bilbao makes it 3. He has made contacts. His first appearance at the Tour de France. The last couple of seasons, his big objective has been the Giro d'Italia, and he's been successful.
But it dislodged the other, if there is a tiny gap. And there's the arm of Mühlberger. Come on, ride through, contribute. And Bilbao saying, Signor, I just got here.
He did indeed. 8:15 back to the yellow jersey. This is the chasing group. This is Serge Piles at the rear of the group for CCC in the orange colours. 2 riders in this group from AG2R Le Mondial. They just didn't have the legs on the climb. Matthias Franck and Tony Galopin. And the Trek Segafredo rider in third last position, who's reintegrated with this group, that is Fabio Follini. Over the top, the Hawkette d'Ancien for the main peloton. Movistar, likewise Jumbo Visma, it's just a matter of getting it down this descent safely. No need for them to take too big a risk. Good day for the yellow jersey. He goes in behind the white jersey of Egan Bernal.
These 3 pushing on really hard together, all 3 still very committed. At one point, a shake of the legs for Simon Yates. At what point Bilbao and Yates will start to think about the speed and the power that Mühlberger possesses and what they're going to do about it.
And when does the tactical game start? And look at the speed on the climb at the front of the race, 28 minutes and 44 seconds. Back in the peloton, almost 4 minutes slower. They really were cruising. Out to a minute and 15 seconds. Nico Roche in the red colours for Sunweb.
Sergio Poles goes through in the front in the orange for CCC. It's a familiar sight, but it's Julian Alaphilippe who's hitched his wagon onto the back of the British super team. He is having a great day out in defence of his yellow jersey. It'll be a very straightforward day for him. He'll collect it again, and he will be going with everything and then some in the time trial tomorrow around Paul.
Here are the 3 leaders. One of these 3 will win the stage, I'm convinced. They are gaining more time on the chasers. Has won stages in Grand Tours. So too has Bilbao. Mühlberger, the young Austrian, he hasn't. But he, on paper, in a sprint, is the favourites. But in a group of 3, it's a lot more difficult to control. And that is why, on the stage in the Briot, Daryl Impey was so happy to work with Tish Benoot, because one-on-one, he definitely had the victory.
If and when they start to attack him, he can't wait for Yates or Bilbao to react. He's just more powerful. Close it down straight away, ride with the responsibility of being the fastest in the group, and then go to the front, control from the front, and don't let your guard down and get boxed in.
Place finish for Mühlberger at the Criterium de Dauphiné might be the most important lesson in his career, as he's in a box seat to win a stage in the Tour de France. When Adam and Simon took up cycling as young kids, their dad was a bit worried about the dangers of riding on the road, so he took them to the velodrome, 2 kilometres.
It's now. Yates swings to the wheel of Mühlberger. He does not want to go through anymore. Bilbao took over.
And now big group coming back to the chasers that are more than 2 minutes behind, and they are racing for 4th.
Yates won't take over anymore. He does! With this sort of time gap back to the chasing group, I thought Bilbao,
this is good.
He just rolls straight over. Mühlberger follows. He's back in that good position.
Yates wants the wheel of Mühlberger. He does not want to be behind Bilbao, number 72.
Maybe waiting till he's a little bit closer to the kilometre marker. There's always that choice of, do I do one more turn or do I wait already? Flicks the elbow. Bilbao goes through. 1K to go. The Flamme Rouge.
This is Tish Benoot. This is the celebration. Congratulations from Bilbao. That's 2. This is their most successful tour as a team since 2013, when they won 2 stages and they had Gerrans and Impey in yellow.
He didn't manage to lead through the last corner like he needed to, and Yates up the inside managed to pin him up against the fence.
No early celebration. Mühlberger never put himself in a position to be able to sprint.
What he needed to do as the man who on paper had the best sprint, and he did the complete opposite. Wrong side of the road, not accelerating before the corner. Mühlberger found himself caught on the outside and pinned against the barriers.
Le maillot jaune of Julian Alaphilippe won't hold huge fears for Geraint Thomas, but the yellow jersey has to go up on the podium, post-stage interviews. It's a long process. But for Thomas, straight to the team bus, straight to the hotel, preparation for the individual time trial. An opportunity tomorrow for Richie Porte. He could take some time back on many of the riders in front of him, but I don't expect him to take time back on Geraint Thomas.
No, I'm with you on that. I don't think he'll take time back. He'll lose some time. But the day after to Tourmalet, I think we'll find out really what sort of form Richie Porte has, because he has to start riding aggressively already in this Tour de France ASAP.
9 minutes and 38 seconds the gap for the peloton, but that will not change the top 10 in the overall classification. Adam, who's in 7th position overall, 1 minute and 47 seconds behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe, whose nearest rival is the defending champion, Geraint Thomas. Kruiswijk has been good, so consistent. Likewise, Emmanuel Bookman. Enric Mas, one of the teammates of Alaphilippe. He should be good over the next few days. Then it's Yates. Quintana, he's had his challenges. He fell yesterday. Let's hope he's okay. The time trial will reveal it. Caught against the barricades, Bilbao rattling and rolling, but it was bike length to spare.
cooperate with Thibaut Pinot?
The answer, it has to be yes.
He says no.
But he is the best place overall from that group. He doesn't do a steady rhythm. He tries to sprint back into contention, but that moves him into the red zone.
He went into the red a little too deep. He had to just ease off, recover, and he will keep coming all the way to the top. And he knows he's got the buffer to play with to hold the yellow jersey. But he'd love to get himself back onto the wheels of the favourites here, and he still has a big gap over the next chasing group.
Kemna is now being caught by Pinot, Bernal and Bookman. 107 is the advantage for Simon Yates ahead of Mikel Landa. It has stabilised.
It has not changed almost since the bottom of the climb. He had a minute and a half, lost some of it very, very quickly initially on the very early slopes. Since then, he has settled into the rhythm. I don't see Landa getting across to Simon Yates.
But the yellow jersey is fighting back. So too is the defending champion. You look in the distance to the black and red colours of Ineos with Pauls and Thomas.
He's closer to the group behind than he is to the one in front. Julian Alaphilippe looks over his shoulder. Pinot out of the saddle again. Looks to see if anyone can respond. It's Bookman. Then it's Bernal. Alaphilippe, he'll fight for this jersey all the way to the top.
92 metres is the gap between Julian Alaphilippe and Thibaut Pinot. The suffering of the yellow jersey, the spirit of the yellow jersey, the courage of Pinot. Bookman has been broken.
One by one, they are dropping off the edge. Thibaut Pinot doing the damage. Another acceleration. Big
suffering. And now we see Bernal fight to hold on. Fighting desperately, stays in the wheel of Thibaut Pinot.
No!
The Frenchman flicks the elbow.
He's still not got the go-ahead, Egan Bernal, and you can imagine he's also at his absolute limit on the wheel of the Frenchman. Now the group with Thomas and Kruiswijk, they are coming up to the back wheel of Julian Alaphilippe, but it looks like the big winners of the day will be Simon Yates off the front for the stage. But the battle behind.
The gap has opened ever so slightly. Finally, Thibaut Pinot has found the crack in Egan Bernal. He's free to fly, but the Colombian, he's not done with. One knee on the canvas. It got to 8 the count, and he is back in the fight.
Well, Egan Bernal, a shake of the head when asked to come through. Not allowed? I don't think so. Just couldn't do any better. Pinot has him on the ropes.
He throws another punch. This one gets him on the quadriceps. 4 kilometres to climb, 4 kilometres of opportunity for Thibaut Pinot.
Egan Bernal, steady state riding, not reacting, but looking behind. That is telling. Pinot's going away from in front and he looks over his shoulder, but he needs to keep that even tempo and hope that Pinot out-attacks himself.
Well, so far, Thibaut Pinot hasn't shown any signs of buckling. He has been the most aggressive in the mountains.
And this is how he always rides in the hill, with just jabs, kicks, winding it up, bigger gears, smaller gears, seated, standing, change of rhythm all the time. But whatever he's doing, he's going fast.
It is working. Richie Port having a fantastic day. He's at the back of this group with the red helmet. In front of him is Alejandro Valverde, the world champion. Then it is Stephen Kruiswijk, starting the day in 3rd place overall. Wout Poels and Geraint Thomas are there from Ineos, and the yellow jersey is trying to defend because he's been challenged by his compatriot, Thibaut Pinot.
Pinot is almost going to have Landa in his sights. 12 seconds between the two. Bernal, 4 or 5 seconds behind Pinot. And at the moment, Pinot has 42 seconds on the group of the Maillot Jaune.
For a moment, we're declaring Alaphilippe as now definitely a favourite to win. Now we're looking at this as Alaphilippe very vulnerable. Thibaut Pinot, perhaps he will end the drought for the French on a rainy day in the Pyrenees. Landa at 108, Yates is still on target, but 3 kilometres, that's a long way to climb with the class of Thibaut Pinot huffing and puffing and trying to blow Yates' house down.
I think we're still getting 3 races for the price of one today. Yates on his way to victory on the stage. I can't see him being caught with the pedigree that he's got, already a winner of Grand Tour, stages in Grand Tours. Surely they won't catch him. but Pinot versus the other favourites, the yellow jersey trying to rescue it. It's all happening.
Yates at 1:07. The yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, started the day with a 3-minute 12-second buffer on Thibaut Pinot. He's still holding on to almost a 2-minute advantage in that race for yellow. So quickly through the corner on the steep gradients in the rain, Mikael Landa. It's been consistent 1:08, and he's about to hear the cheers, not from in front, but from behind. It's a Mexican wave of support for a Frenchman.
And you can gauge it coming through that corner. Thibaut Pinot so much faster than Landa, who came through first, and then Bernal, who came through next. The Frenchman is smashing them.
Kruijswijk and Thomas talking. What do we do now? Port behind them. Kruijswijk knows what he wants to do, and that is attack. He's got a gap. Looks to check on Geraint Thomas. Settles into the rhythm.
Kruijswijk just had to, with Pinot up the road as far as he is, and then Alaphilippe's gone in the red zone and come back to them. He had to have a go. Pauls it is that responds. He's been rested over the first 2 weeks of the Tour de France, constantly dropped. Now he's doing his work for Geraint Thomas. Thibaut Pinot, his team has risen to the occasion of this Tour de France, and virtually at the moment he's ridden his way up to 4th overall. And he's only a matter of 11 seconds off the second place of Geraint Thomas.
And Emmanuel Buchmann is finding his way back to Egan Bernal. So impressive, another young German, Leonard Kapner, sticking with him. 22-year-old, 26, 22. The next generation has very much arrived. They have arrived in full force with a little over 2 kilometres to climb at the front of the race. That is for Simon Yates, that 2-kilometre marker. Thibaut Pinot's not chasing third. He did that 5 years ago. He's chasing first. This is Yates. He's chasing first. Had one already. He wants to make it 2.
A steep pitch here for the Englishman, but still holding good rhythm. Already a winner in Bagnières de Bigorre. His brother yesterday dropped on the Tourmalet. His GC hopes over. The team focused and refocused very quickly. Simon Yates back in the break. Almost got the stage win within his grasp.
Thibaut Pinot moves up to virtual 3rd place overall. He has almost caught Mikael Landa, and for the first time, he takes a look over the shoulder to see what's happening behind him. But the race is out in front.
We've seen others look over their shoulder, and it takes the morale away. The look for Pinot would have given him so much morale, because all he sees is the wide open spaces.
Now Landa looks across the shoulder. As Landa looks, he's starting to grimace. This is Wout Poels. Kruijswijk just behind him. Then it is Geraint Thomas. So too is Richie Port, having a much better day than yesterday.
Well, the gradients ease off towards the top of the climb, but the last kilometre eases right off down through 5% and almost flat for the last 100 metres or so. 2 kilometres to go for the yellow jersey group. It's an attack by Thomas.
Kruijswijk can respond. The yellow jersey can't. He doesn't have any more answers. He's got 2 kilometres and 2 minutes. That's his advantage over Geraint Thomas. It's 2:02. Can he defend that in the space of 2 kilometres?
Well, look how quickly that has opened up. But can Thomas sustain the attack to the top? He got in trouble yesterday with a kilometre. There's no one behind him that can come through. Julian Alaphilippe, he battles on. And the biggest danger is looming from Thibaut Pinot, looking forward to the mountain stages still to come in this Tour de France. But he looks he's going to give some time back.
Is Yates. He can see the kites, and this is where he'll start to build a little bit more momentum. It eases off ever so slightly. His advantage is 1 minute on Thibaut Pinot. Here comes the yellow jersey. Paul was about to go across the line.
It was 40 seconds from Pinot to Thomas.
He will hold on to the yellow jersey, but his advantage has taken a significant haircut, and we've seen vulnerability for the first time at the Maillot Jaune. Julian Alaphilippe fights bravely. He saves yellow, but how much is left in the tank?
Loses just over 1:20 to Thibaut Pinot.
3:12 was the gap at the start of the day.
He loses 40 to 45 seconds to Geraint Thomas.
And Stephen Kreuzweig.
And Bernal further ahead of that.
Even more so. That was Guillaume Martin going across the finish line at 2:10. Kreuzweig can win this race.
Yes.
Bernal can win this race.
Affirmative.
Thomas. He's so good. What a tour. Yates has done it again, though. 3 stage wins for Mitchelton Scott now.
The man who lost the most today was Rigoberto Urán, but prophetically this morning he said anybody in the first, was it 6 or 8?
6.
Anyone in the first 6 to him.
No, he didn't include himself. He went down to Thibaut Pinot in 6.
So anyone in the first 6 can win this tour.
Yeah.
He was the one who said on a mountainside, that lead of a couple of minutes is no more than 700 metres.
Emmanuel Bookman. He's the only one in that group, I think no one.
Yeah, I think no, but he could still podium.
Oh, he can definitely podium. It's the stage classification once again. Simon Yates winning ahead of Thibaut Pinot, then Mikael Landa. It was Bookman and Bernal at 51 seconds. Kantner, so good in 6 from the day-long breakaway. It was then Thomas. We had Kreuzweig and Valverde. They were all together. Another 8 seconds back was Richie Porte. And now here comes Van Baarle. Riding back down the hill. That is David Gaudu. So too Romain Bardet riding back down the hill. Not enough room up here for the team buses. They have to cautiously head back down the hill to their team cars and then embrace the rest day.
Well, Matt, talking of that, that is something you said, go back down cautiously, extremely cautiously. We've seen it in the past in Tour de France, mountaintop finishes. David Moncoutier has been a victim of that, falling on the way down a descent and ending his tour going into a rest day.
And last year, Chris Froome on the way off the mountain.
And he was tackled
with a policeman.
He was run.
And there is the general classification. Thibaut Pinot is at 1 minute and 50 seconds behind.
And like Urán said, anyone in the top 6 can win this tour. 2:14 separating 6 riders. 12 seconds between Thomas and Kreuzweig, another 3 seconds back to Pinot, another 12 seconds back to Bernal, another 12 seconds back to Bookman. In and save the energy for later on this afternoon. On the other side, Caleb Ewan not getting involved at all. We haven't seen him until now do that either. Nor does Groenewegen. There just seems to be really the interest between Colbrelli and Viviani to try and finish second in this green jersey competition behind Peter Sagan. No Michael Matthews. Maybe thinking about the bigger prizes on offer this afternoon in the sprint, but maybe more specifically tomorrow into Gap. If he's not in the breakaway, I wonder what the prospects are of Sunweb mounting a day-long chase on a 200-kilometre stage that is also going to be a very hot day out. But he wouldn't be without a good chance of winning into Gap. We would expect, if it was to come down to a reduced bunch finish, again it would be a Matthews-Sagan duel.
Well, today the report coming from the Sunweb team is that Michael Matthews will be working for Case Bowl in the sprint finish today.
Today, okay. But like we saw him do in Toulouse.
Yes, exactly.
So, although we saw him go for those green jersey points the other day, really not focusing his attention on that and sharing the chances around on a finish today that probably suits Case Bowl a little bit better than Michael Matthews. I think at this point in the tour, it's probably swinging back more to Matthews being the better of the two. More of a pedigree in a Grand Tour after 2 weeks of hard racing, after all the mountains. Case Bowl, a very large man, the Dutchman, and sure, he's had a tough time through the mountains, through the Pyrenees. We'll find out this afternoon how fresh or totally fatigued that Case Bowl is.
The aim for each rider today to go through 1 water bottle per half an hour?
yeah, it's got to be in this heat at least 1 bottle per half an hour. And as I said earlier, it's really hard to put that amount of fluid into your body. And most of the riders will find they've still got a balance to make up when they get to the finish. So they may have had up to 10 or 12 litres of fluids today during the stage. Imagine trying to tip that in a 4.5 hour period.
And then they go back to the team bus, they get their urine assessed and they get weighed to measure how dehydrated they are and what amount of fluids they need to get back in the system overnight. It has often been referred to as an eating and a sleeping race, and in amongst the eating is also the consumption of fluids. 38 seconds. They're desperate to try and defy the peloton. Stefan Rosetto in the Cofidis colours swings off. Lukas Wizianowski now goes through to the front. There's been a fall again back in the peloton. And Sunweb is down.
That's Bolt.
Chad Hager is waiting with him.
That's Case Bolt.
Jakob Fuglsang as well from the Astana rider. He's had a tough start to the tour.
No wait, 2 hours.
Case Bolt picks himself up from Sunweb.
74.
Astana is the team with the panic bike, number 71.
1450
That looks like
meters.
Bilbao, who's doing the mechanical job at the moment for Jakob Fuglsang. Chad Hager is waiting with Case Bolt.
That first place was achieved.
Well, Bilbao, he's trying to get the bike fixed up while another bike has been carried through by the
Magnus
Astana
Cord.
mechanic.
It's Magnus Cord, actually, that's trying to do that. Got that wrong. That's Omar Frale, number 73. This has taken a while to get going. Luis Leon Sanchez is there. Lutsenko is there. This looks like it could be collarbone territory. The helmet is coming off. Luis Leon Sanchez is looking really concerned for the condition of Jakob Fuglsang.
I think that was Fraley just indicating they need the race doctor, and there they are. That cabriolet, the white car, that is the race doctor. They've just asked them to stop as they were driving past.
That is a disaster.
The entire team there, the helmet off, the look, that dejected head towards the ground, that is a very bad sign.
Helmet off almost invariably means a race over. That left shoulder doesn't look good at all.
And in the shake of the head.
You can see the compassion in Luis Leon Sanchez. This is not about protecting the athlete, this is about protecting a friend. Dmitry Fofanov is the sports director that is there with them, and they're sending the other riders on their way. The expression on the face of Jakob Fuglsang tells the story. Tour over.
That is race over. Really unfortunate for the Dane, who was sitting 9th overall at 5 minutes 27 down. Still very much in it for a top 6 place in this tour, but that's a sad sight. And you can see he resigned himself to that really very quickly. Helmet off, look to the ground, a shake of the head to the teammates.
It didn't start well on stage 1 with a crash. He was on the improve as the race continued, but now one small mistake. It's another reminder of how important it is to stay up the front, and it's a cliche, stay up the front and out of trouble.
But sometimes that's exactly where it happens as well. Sometimes your numbers just up. It could have been his mistake, could have been the mistake of the rider in front of him. We don't know, we may hear later on.
Judging by the look of his skin suit, the amount of sort of dust that was on it, it would have been a pretty slippery sort of a corner because of the lack of rain in the region.
These roads are quite slippery, and I know that from racing on them in the past. I know that from riding on them today, going through the final part of the race. But every roundabout on the way into Nîmes, even going slow, you almost hold your breath a little bit and back it off. It's slick, it's dusty. There's a fine layer of dust, and the diesel residue from the cars and trucks. That's just one of those moments, really unfortunate for Jakob Fuglsang,
who now has officially abandoned the race. Alexis Gujard, Jakob Fuglsang out of the Tour de France. Rosetto, Wizianowski, this is Ursula, and at the back it is Lars Bak. Also involved in the crash, Robbie, was Case Bowl from Sunweb. Therefore, now what happens? Sunweb, Michael Matthews, does he become the priority, or do they stick with Plan A and try and bring Case Bowl, the Dutch sprinter, back to the peloton to go for the sprint?
Well, at this point in the race, it's going to be very difficult for Case Bowl to get back to the peloton. The pace is on. The break is just trying to prolong its life at the front of the race, but they're chasing really hard behind. We saw Tony Martin on, but stacked up behind him with a couple of Soudal Lotto riders as well. They are riding really fast. This is going to be a very, very difficult chase for Case Bowl. He spent quite a lot of time sitting down on the ground, then getting another bike. So he's lost probably at least a minute and a half, up to nearly 2 minutes before he gets going. Even if he does get back, he may no longer have the legs to take part in the sprint.
George Bennett with a musette full of water bottles, delivering them to the teammates. Some ice is also there. That's ice that he's now handing over, of the cold water variety in a stocking. And this is reminiscent of stage 10 when he went back to collect the water bottles, but on that occasion there was a split. Today, no split.
I would expect now that it's Michael Matthews who gets his chance to do the sprint.
It's back out to 11 seconds.
We've seen a number of teams send a solo rider up to the front, but no team commit a train just yet. It's still too far to go. So whoever can't help in the sprint train, there's a crash again.
Off to the right-hand side, Dimension Data.
Christoph was
and
one.
This is Kreuziger. Kreuziger is well placed overall for Dimension Data. Quick bike change. He's in 14th position in the general classification. He needs to get back to the rear of the peloton to maintain his high placing.
I thought the UAE rider might have been Alexander Christoph, the last winner here in Nîmes. Yet to be confirmed. Let's hope it's not for him and his team. The man who is likely to do the best in the sprint finish. Under 5 kilometres to go. This is that little section I spoke about. Keep to the left through the roundabout. You get on the other side, you are lost.
Rosetto it is who's at the front. Lars back in second position. Committed, they've been together. Wrong side of the roundabout, but that was deliberate to get out of the way.
Yeah, work done for that rider. That looks like one of the Soudal Lotto riders pulling out of the road.
Looked like it might have been Jens Kirkeler. This is the breakaway, railing it through that corner.
That is that sharp left. 4.5 kilometres to go. Peloton about to swing out of it, and the gap still just opening a tiny bit. Good news for Alexander Christoph. It wasn't him. He is still in the peloton.
I thought it was 1-2-4, Rui Costa, that was involved in that fall. Either way, confirmation. The last winner here, Alexander Christoph, is in with a chance.
The gap back down to 10 seconds now, but they're finding it very difficult to close these last few seconds on the break as they continue to work in unison. This is exactly what they need all the way in.
They may as well be wearing the same jersey in the manner in which they're riding. It's impossible to split the red number for the most combative prize today.
Anyone who chooses to try and do a little bit less, to try and take a rest, call someone in for a turn in front, will ruin the rhythm of the group. They've got absolutely no hope. But at the moment, 11 seconds with 3.5 kilometres to go, and the chase a little bit disjointed behind.
And Bonifacio has just been delivered to the front for Total Direct Energy. They still have Orsolan in this breakaway, but they are setting up for the sprint finish. Yet the breakaway, they're out to 12 seconds.
It's just that holding off. The team's not wanting to start their sprint train too soon. They know when they get to 3 kilometres to go, it's very narrow. A right-hand bend brings them onto the final straight road, very wide. They'll have them in their sights all the way down. I doubt they'll be making a mistake on this one. Here's that tight right-hander.
It could be a Jack Bauer moment. Caught within the last 100 metres. Might be a little bit sooner than that. Either way, it's Daniel Oss who's at the front for Bora Hansgrohe. Looking for Peter Sagan, who sits in 4th position. This is Lars back, who's not at the back. He's at the front with a flick of the elbow. Let's go, let's keep working. They're breathing down their neck now, though. That's no longer 11 seconds. Caleb Ewan at the end of the train for Soudal Lotto, followed by Edmel Bosenhagen.
Peter Sagan a few positions ahead of him. No sign yet of the lead-out train from De Kooning Quickstep, but look for those blue jerseys. They're starting to get formed up. Viviani, he's on Regisi. He's wearing white with the light blue bands. Long through the roundabout, a few few smart cookies through the inside.
And the yellow colours, Jumbo Visma, they're led by the rider in red, Janssen, bringing them forward.
Turnison is the man who will deliver Dylan Groenewegen. Small sprint train. Can they take on the likes of De Koning Quickstep, who are waiting? They're just getting grouped together, waiting for their moment to ride to the front.
And from the original breakaway, Orsolan is trying to attack. Rosento steps out of the way. Groenewegen, he's got support. He sits on the wheel of Mike Turnison. This is Janssen now who's on the front.
Early at the front, 2 kilometres to go. Slight headwind, remember. Narrow Quintana, he is drifting back, but he'll get back in no problem. Already lost enough time. We don't need to worry about his GC anyway. He's actually off the back.
Well, he's had a problem here, Nairo Quintana, and he's conceding more grounds. Nairo Quintana, he's out of contention to start with. He's in 13th position overall. The race is out in front.
You'll spot the line 250 metres to go. Slight headwind, a little bit from the left-hand side. Marco Haller, he's the man on the front. Turnison, he thinks this is too early. He looks back. Where's Groenewegen? He's got a rider from Lotto Soudal behind him. On Groenewegen's wheel is Caleb Ewan in 4th wheel, but into this headwind it is very easy to get swamped.
And that's what's happening now.
Mercure goes. He's got Richesi in the wheel. Viviani, Sagan. They pass Groenewegen with Ewan. Groenewegen, he tacks on to Peter Sagan. Christoph next to him, they're battling. Caleb Ewan behind Christoph. Ewan is in 7th position. Goes now. He goes when Richesi starts. Ewan out in the wind. He comes in a little bit, picks up a tiny bit of slipstream. Richesi gives him a bit of a check. He's just too strong. Over the top. Clear victory for Caleb Ewan. What a win. This is the team that made the commitment from the first metre of the race, and this is the man who came and rode the final kilometres before the stage started.
He had to negotiate his way around Richesi, who washed on a little bit of speed, but not much, because Caleb was coming with momentum. Photo for second and third. Viviani, Groenewegen, we'd like to see the other angle. Certainly Sagan in 4th.
Caleb Ewan has won this sprint on brute strength. At first, tactically good, following Groenewegen, but they were on the front too early with Turnison and Janssen. They got swamped from behind. He has ignited the jetpack. Track him on the left-hand side, 64k an hour, and this is into a slight headwind.
A lot of that
67, getting down, getting aero. Groenewegen, he's coming. It's too late. It's already been won. 2nd for Viviani, 3rd for Groenewegen, but that is a win by a length.
And Bonifacio in 5th, mind you, so their first top 10 finish, and you said he'd be finishing 5th. Well played. For Caleb Ewan, he had Roger Kluger getting there earlier. Yes, but the boost did part of the last lead-out, but it wasn't a classic style lead-out. A lot of that last 500 metres, in fact, all of the last 500 metres was on instinct. He's a natural born sprinter.
It is. He was just searching for the line and knows his way to go and get it. But you've got to have the legs. He had huge motivation. He hasn't switched off after that first stage win. He liked the taste, and he's back for the second course.
He can get through the mountains. He'd love to win in Paris. Who wouldn't?
That's the next goal, of course. So, over the hundreds of years...
Another stage,
listen in.
Clearly you enjoy rest days. She won after a rest day in Toulouse, you do it again, yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I felt so bad today during the day. I think the heat really got to me, and I was actually suffering so much, and I was almost about to tell Max to get off the front because I was really suffering. But I had extra motivation today. My daughter and my wife are here, so I'm so happy I could win there.
Take us through that final kilometre.
I thought we were too far forward. I had Jasper on the front with Dylan on the wheel with 1 kilometre to go, so we weren't in an ideal situation with 1k to go, but he did such a strong pull. Quickstep came past and I lost a few more positions than I wanted to, but I looked at this finish actually at the start of the day and I played all the scenarios in my head, and one of the scenarios I played was if I was too far back. I think if you watch it, I lay off the wheel and really take a run at it and start sprinting before the rest of the guys, and yeah, it worked.
Just won 2 stages of the Tour de France, can you believe it?
Not really, I said before, there's a dream to be here, and yeah, I mean, it was such a big dream to win one stage, and now I've won 2, so I can't believe it.
Exploring the ancient Roman heritage of the region, the peloton will depart destination Gap. It's 200 kilometres for stage 17 of the Tour de France. Let's now take a look at what confronts the peloton for stage 17. It starts at the Pont de Gare, 200 kilometres heading through to Gap. Destination eventually after that into the Alps. So this is one of the final chances for a big breakaway. Category 4 climb the midpoint of the stage, but it's just a gradual drag right from the very start until there. Then a Category 3 climb towards the end before they descend down to Gap for the 25th time in the history of the Tour de France. Sven Erik Byström at the end there, he referred to one of the great cliches because it is a truism in cycling. In any sport, endurance sport at least, if you wait until you're hungry or you wait until you're thirsty, it is too late.
Absolutely correct. So sometimes it's a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that old adage is certainly one of those, but it's become so much more scientific in recent years, and things like weighing the riders pre and post stage to gauge their level of dehydration. But there's always the rules of thumb that work, and bear with me on this one, but one of the really easy ones for hydration is when the urine is clear, you're hydrated, and that's just the really easy way to work towards. You can go and weigh yourself, say, oh, you're at 1.2 kilos less than you were at the start, so you need to drink 1.2 litres. You've just got to keep drinking until you need to go to the toilet every 20 minutes to half an hour. You know you're properly hydrated.
And we see so often at the start of the stage, once the breakaway is established, and it might be after only 5 kilometres, particularly on a flat stage in the first week, automatically you see riders stopping by the side of the road to take a nature break. It's so important to be super hydrated at the beginning of the day.
And it's not just water, and it's been really more in the last 25, 28 years, so from in the 90s, that the electrolyte sport drinks really became a thing in sport, and that is also really important. But also get the right mix. You can't completely fill up on electrolyte, and a lot of riders like to take one bidon of each, one electrolyte, one plain water, and then also what you're drinking post-stage as well to replenish the electrolytes and get your body completely back in balance, and everything the muscles need to recover, as we just fly across l'église Saint-Germain in Faucon.
The actual construction of that church isn't known, but it got a lot of restoration work in the years of 1668 and 1677 throughout that period, where they added the small belfry that you can see at the top of the church as we look at one of the most famous climbs in world cycling, the Mont Ventoux.
And we look at the most difficult piece, the moonscape. You see that line where the vegetation stops and it just turns to the white rocks. The sun reflecting off it on a hot day cooks you. It can be freezing cold up the top on a summer's day as well.
And windy.
And when the wind gets up, it is incredibly difficult. It's not steep towards the top, but you're getting to altitude, and quite often the wind is coming in from the west and blowing a headwind into all this last part as it funnels its way around the mountain. Well, I haven't had a lot of fun experiences going up the Ventoux.
Amongst some of the most famous images from this climb, one of them dates back to 1987 when it was an individual time trial won by Jean-Francois Bernard, the Frenchman whose son is riding this race, Julien Bernard for Trek Segafredo. Can you imagine riding an individual time trial up Mont Ventoux?
At least it's short. The Ventoux climb is 21 kilometres long. I think back to, I think it was the last time I rode the Ventoux in the Tour de France. It was a 221 kilometre stage. The final 21 was the climb. The first 200 we covered in 4 hours.
You're joking?
No. I'm still scarred.
Absolutely. One of my favourite stages.
It was horrific.
One of the favourite stages I ever watched on Mont Ventoux was 1994, the big breakaway from Iros Poly. And he got to the bottom of the climb, was somewhere in the vicinity of 20.
Yeah, you had over 20 minutes, over 20.
And they didn't finish at the top. They went over the other side. They descended down to the bottom. And he managed to just hold on by a couple of minutes in the end. And he tipped his hat. There was no helmets worn at that point in the Tour de France. He tipped his hat as he went across the finish line. It was a great win by Iros Poly back in 1994 over the top of the Mont Ventoux. This is Jesper Sturben from Trek Segafredo. Matt Nilberhani trying to keep the body temperature down just a little.
Fun fact about that stage win, it was his only win in the professional peloton.
He held on to win by 3 minutes and 39 seconds. He was out at his maximum lead on that stage.
And I remember being in the Gruppetto with him and with Magnus Backstedt. He was the heaviest rider in the peloton in the years he rode the Tour de France. A couple of others like Stuart O'Grady, Hank Vogels and myself going downhill in the Alps with Eros Poly and Magnus Backstedt. You had to hang into their slipstream. They just descended so fast with the weight, the momentum created by their weight. And we were often over 100 kilometres an hour. So with Eros Poly, he probably extended his gap coming down off the Ventoux.
Yeah, and technically both those guys really good descenders. It's not just a matter of the weight to gravity equation, both really good through the corners.
Yeah, technically very good as well. Yeah, carrying speed through the corners and brave. Got some good guys up in the break for this type of stage. We saw, just coming through to the front earlier, was Gorka Izagirre, but also with Magnus Kort and Omar Freile. Freile is definitely up there. Kort.
We saw Kort up there. He was definitely up there earlier.
He was up there early. We better just do a double.
Let's do a double check on Magnus Kort. I don't think he's in that break anymore. He has been dropped off the back, and Magnus Kort is no longer part of those 33 riders off the front.
He was active very early, but no, indeed, he has not made it, just two.
Omar Freile and Gorka Izagirre. Freile won a stage last year. Gorka Izagirre has been a stage winner at Grand Tours in the past.
Look, Freile is a man who has the strength to go on the attack on his own, in a small group, get over that final climb, and he's got a fairly handy turn of speed at the finish as well. That stage when he got to Monde last year was incredibly strong. Came back on Jesper Sturben, who in the end we were cheering for to make it. It was such a great move that he made. He just literally hit a wall. The wall that is the climb up to Monde.
It is indeed. But for either of those riders from Astana to be able to win the stage, Omar Freile or Gorka Izagirre, they need to reduce the size of this group. So we are in for some action in the final 60 kilometres of this stage. I think it will start to kick off. You can see the red number in the breakaway today. That's Alexis Goujard from AG Tour Le Mondial. He was in the breakaway yesterday. Daniel Oss with the flowing locks from the Bora Hansgrohe team. They also have Lucas Postelberger in the break. Number 22 sitting at the rear of the breakaway group. That is Kasper Asgreen, who's been doing a lot of pacemaking throughout this race, mainly in support of Julian Alaphilippe, on occasion in support of their sprinter, Alia Viviani. As he did yesterday, it was Kasper Asgreen's final couple of turns of pace up that last climb yesterday that brought an end to yesterday's breakaway group of 5. Yesterday for the Sunweb team, they made the decision very early on, Robbie, that they were not going to sprint as Michael Matthews being their protected rider. The sprint was going to be to set up the stage for Kees Bol. He ended up being involved in the crash that also caught out Jakob Fuglsang, so Matthews got to do his own sprint. But this morning, he's a non-starter. The Sunweb team, they made the decision. He's in his first season in the pro ranks. Let's not rush things with him. We don't want him to exceed his limits into the mountains. So they've had him not start the stage today, which makes it intriguing for me that they made him the number one protected guy yesterday.
Well, maybe that was the thing. It's his last day. Let's let him have a go at it, but he was involved in that crash with Chad Hager.
So they switched pretty quickly then to Michael Matthews, which shows that it's a really nimble team in terms of its thinking. But Michael Matthews wasn't overly delighted about being told at the start of the stage to work for Kees Bol. The white jersey of Egan Bernal sitting in 5th position in the overall classification. be looking forward to the high mountains that are still to come over the next 3 days.
Yeah. All these climbers and GC riders, you see them lined up by team Ineos, Movistar, Trek Segafredo and Richie Port, and the Koenig Quickstep further back there with Julien Alaphilippe.
Just in his shoes, number 65, Mikel Landa. He is the wild card in the pack. He sits in 7th position, almost 5 minutes behind the yellow jersey, but many are saying he can still win.
I don't think he'll reach the podium. There you go.
Nairo Quintana yesterday, he was caught behind a fall. He didn't crash, he put his foot down. He lost more than a minute again yesterday.
We know Mikel Landa is an enigma. Expect the unexpected. He goes on long-range attacks. But I don't think he'll make the podium in this tour. He may threaten the top 5. I think it's just too much time to make up. But surely you've got to pay for that the next day.
He's a rider that Dave Brailsford, the team manager across at Ineos, has spoken about as a threat. He previously rode for Team Sky. They know what they're in for with Mikel Landa. He's the one guy that they think he can launch a long-range attack and sustain it. Others, they back themselves to be able to slowly whittle their advantage down. So look at the peloton being led by De Koenig Quickstep, the advantage at 8 minutes and 29 seconds. 113 kilometres to go up the front of the peloton. Let's now turn our attention to the Tour Media Medal. This is the 10th of the course. This is a breakaway group of 33 riders. No real threat here to the yellow jersey of Julien Alaphilippe. The nearest is Xandre Beruse, who's more than 28 minutes behind.
Really impressed about Caleb's win yesterday was not just that laying off the wheel, the slingshot effect out of the slipstream and hitting the front, but that he went from a long way out, a good 250 metres into a slight headwind and just held that. He didn't look like he was fading towards the line.
But it's a long way from Paris from here.
Yeah, and he's going to need a lot of help from his teammates, guys like Jens Kerkeleder, who's just coming through to the front now, Maxime Montfort, everybody in the team, basically. Jasper de Boer sticking with him, also Roger Kluge. And Caleb said after the Pyrenees, he put a photo on his Instagram and said, he was with his teammates, I've got to thank these guys because it's them who got me through. There were some really rough moments today and I thought I was almost out.
Yeah, the teamwork for a sprinter, the support for a sprinter, it's not as simple as just the lead-out train. In fact, often it's all the other stuff that we don't see that happens at the back of the peloton. That was Edvald Bosenhagen rolling through to the front of the breakaway group. At the back of the breakaway, in last position, that is Balkan Mollema. Just in front of him is his teammate Jasper Stuyven. And they also have, in this breakaway group, the Latvian national champion Tom Scoins. Simon Clark in the pink colours rolling through. And the white colours, the former world champion, that is Rui Costa. Followed then by the Colombian champion of a few years ago, that is Sergio Henao. Latvian national champion is next in line, that's Tom Scoins. Then it's the European champion, Matteo Trentin, followed by his teammates, that is Chris Jensen. The Dane who speaks with a very thick Irish accent. Spent all of his teenage years up till around about 15 or 16 in Ireland. In fact, he spent most of his childhood in Ireland before moving back to Copenhagen in his mid to late teens. They hit the base of the first climb of the stage. Category 4 climb, it's 2.3 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 6.2%. Is it too early to see any action from this breakaway group?
Yeah, I think it's still too early. 97 kilometres to go. I mean, there's long-range moves, but 97. I'd find it hard to imagine that anybody in this group is thinking, yeah, just inside 100k to go, that's when I'll go solo.
Particularly in this heat.
Yeah.
Casper Asgreen, number 22 at the back of the group. But Thomas De Gent might just test everybody's legs a little. Can we thin the group? There's rules, and then there's Thomas.
Yeah, that was the next thing to get to. If there's anybody in this group that might just do it, there's that man.
And Rui Costa is staying nearby. So too is Simon Clark. They're well aware of the reputation of Thomas De Gent. Do not take your eyes off Thomas De Gent. Back in the peloton, they're still being led by De Koenig Quickstep. Today, Julien Alaphilippe has himself ranked as equal 15th in terms of French riders and their time in the yellow jersey. This is his 12th day in yellow. He had 2 days at the start of the tour before surrendering it to Giulio Ciccone. But if he takes it today, he'll move one step.